Good evening.
Everywhere I go on this island, it seems to me I find degeneracy.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes. See, it's a lot scarier when there's no motive, Sid.
We have a bargain.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
Do you feel the pain? Oh, it's the pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
His entire work consists of violence, all the time, obsessed with the issue of violence. Mayhem, gouging out of eyes, autopsies on the stage.
Come. It is time to keep your appointment.
Good evening, everyone. We are back. It is Thursday and it is 8 p.m. It is time for the UK's coziest horror stream. It's so cozy and relaxed and informed that, you know, you always feel like this is a normal genre to like. That we're all balanced people. We're just normal men. Just innocent men. I hope you've had a good week so far. It is good to see so many of the regulars in the chat. Hello, Dr. Prepper. Hello, Murgoot. Hello, the Alabastard. Mima, you are in nice and early. I think Maverick got in very early with a butts. There's some good early butts. I am really looking forward to this one. Johnny, good to see you again. Johnny in the chat. Getting to be a regular, man. If there's anyone I've missed, say hi in chat. Do not be shy. We like to see it. And also, hi to everyone on the replay. Remembering you guys twice in a row. Very unusual for me, but I hope everyone on the replay is enjoying this. This is the final part of our second psychological horror arc. We had so many choices for this one, but I threw it open to you guys. And members in the chat members of the channel voted for this one quite comfortably. I think about 60% ended up going for the Blackcoat's daughter. I thought 7 was in the running there from David Fincher. I thought that might tempt you, but
well, since this is the last one, we saved the best for last.
Oh, I think we'll rely on the scores, but you make a good case for it. I think this should score very strong, but we might be in for a surprise. Hopefully we can make the case. And since this is a film you've been campaigning for a while, Yizz, you know, I thought, as with the autopsy of Jane Doe, we got to bring you back.
I appreciate that. I'm excited to be here. I have a lot to say.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it. I mean, I'll tell you some behind the scenes secrets, chat. Anyone who turns up with notes is instantly one of my favorite guests. And Yizz is a reliable note taker. Also, if you didn't see the stream we did discussing the autopsy of Jane Doe, give that a watch. That is, I think, one of the best streams that we've done. And
I think so.
The blending of the summary and the themes was done very well. Not to set the bar too high for tonight.
Well, I'll do what I can. I came with similar notes this time, so we'll see what happens.
Oh, fantastic. And of course, we are joined, as ever, by my regular co-host. He can't live a normal life. He was raised by the state, so he's got to be down with the hood team. It's that crime guy.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm sorry, I'm going to tell you now, my sugar levels have just plummeted, so I think I might be a bit slow off the mark tonight, but let's do this. Let's see how we get on with this one tonight. I think it was all right. It was an all right film.
Nice. I was worried after Kill List that this might not work for you.
Right.
And I'd actually massively forgive you, because the first time I watched this, I was not massively impressed.
Okay.
Like I told you off stream, I didn't really start loving this movie till my third watch, but I liked it enough for it to engage me in the first watch, and then by the second or third, I was really, really into it, and it soon became my favorite modern horror movie.
I've got to ask, if I haven't asked already, what is your favorite horror movie before modern era?
Ooh, it's hard to choose. There's so many good ones. I'll have to get back to you later on that one. I don't want to take up too much time.
No worries. It's a high pressure question, actually, isn't it? I think
if I had to pick, if I had to just grab one quickly, it's The Thing from the early '80s, the Carpenter Thing. I love that one. I've seen it like 100 times. I love it.
Oh, that's solid. That is very solid. Well, folks, we are going to be discussing The Blackcoat's Daughter, also known as February, from 2015. The version of this that I have is called February, somewhat confusingly. We'll get into that in a bit, but we're going to play a little game first. And before we get into all of that, let's do a little bit of shilling. I'm sure you're familiar with my guests. I'm sure you are following them already, but just in case, I'll give them a chance to just do a quick shill. Yizz, would you like to go first?
Oh, certainly. I was going to shill your subscribe star and shill your channel, but yeah, sure, I'll shill myself. My name is Yizz the Eunuch. Most of you watching, I'm sure, already know me and follow me. I am let's just say a dissident content creator, and I talk about the critical issues we face today, and I do so through a positive lens. I don't poo-poo out groups. I don't tell you negative, hopeless things. I, on my channel, like to laugh at the news. I like to take a comical approach to discussing clown world topics on my main stream on Monday nights, which does not stay up on YouTube because it's too spicy. But you can find me out as Yizz the Eunuch on Rumble, Odyssey, and of course YouTube. And I'm sure that my good friend Chloe here has included links to my content in the description of her video. Besides my Monday night streams, which is my main stream of the week, by the way, it's called Discordant Dragons. You should definitely come check it out. It's a rip-roaring good time. It's like Academic Agents Unpopular Opinions, but good. And I think you'll greatly enjoy it. So you should definitely come check that out on Monday nights, 6 p.m. American, 11 p.m. British, and you'll have a smashing good time. I also live in a beautiful Appalachian Shire here in beautiful mountain hollers of the Smoky Mountains in East Tennessee, and I do morning walk videos to showcase the glory of my mountain shire while I share wisdom and encouraging words about the difficult life that we all have living in clown world. So I am a delightful content creator. I keep it real, and I do my best to tell you constructive, positive, helpful things instead of just blackpilling stuff.
We all need to keep it positive, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Yes. Links are in the description. Don't you have the 100th Discordant Dragons coming up?
I do. It's nearing. It's in just a couple more weeks. We will be at the 100th episode, and yes, I do have something special planned.
Nice. And TCG, how about yourself? Waiting for that sugar to hit in.
I swear I pushed the right button then to unmute myself. Okay. Nothing new in terms of the content over on the main channel, but there will be a live stream tomorrow night at 9 p.m, which I do believe, Horrorshow, you're going to be joining, as well as Mergu in the chat. Denzil is also on board, and now I mention yourself and those two because we are bringing back an old but gold live stream format. We're going to be doing some freaking Florida Man Friday to celebrate the fact that we're over the 9,500 mark, and we are getting ever so closer to the 10,000 mark 10,000 subscriber count, which when I first started this didn't even seem like at all possible, but you know, we're nearly there. So yeah, do check in to that. Essentially, it's a simple format. We do 5 stories. Each take turns in reading them, and I pick them, but I don't go beyond the headlines. I have got the stories now, and the stream is ready to go. I just need to get it set up on the channel. But yeah, guys, it is a lot of fun. And I'm also over on my second channel doing the second Ace Attorney game, Justice for All. We're on the second turnabout at the moment, and we've just completed part 2 of that, essentially, the first trial, and we're about to go off and do some more investigating. Yizz turned up to the one I did on Tuesday night, and I'm sure she can vouch for it being absolute quality, and my manager turned up last night. So
oh wow. Well, it was a lovely time. I enjoyed the couple of hours I was there with you. It was a rip-roaring good time, and you do a great job reading all the dialogue. It's a lot of fun.
I hope I didn't butcher the Southern American accent too bad.
Oh, you did, but it was fun.
Good stuff. Oh, well, okay. Well, fair enough. As long as you liked it, that's all that matters.
I did. I mean, it's probably better than me doing a British accent.
Oh, yeah. I want to hear it.
We're going to have to hear that now. Come on.
Come on.
I don't even know how to start.
Give us a sentence. I'm sorry, Governor. I've forgotten my stabbing license.
Sorry, Governor. I've forgotten my stabbing license. Or should I say listens?
There we go. See,
I grew up watching the BBC, especially things like Fawlty Towers and Young Ones and all that stuff. So I love British comedy. I love all of my brothers and sisters on Albion. I love you guys, and despite fun jeers taking across the pond because of the split a couple of 100 years ago, I do love all you guys and consider you brethren.
It's all part of the fun, isn't it?
It is.
Well, here's Maverick's right. It's license. It's license round here.
You got a license for that, mate. You got a license for that potato peeler.
Got a license for that accent,
mate.
Mate.
That's all you need. Well, before I'll be light on viewers. I'll get straight into it. We've shelled, and I will say, because Yizz reminded me, and she's wonderful at doing that, because I can be a bit hesitant to do it. Folks, if you like what we do here, you are very unlike the YouTube algorithm, which despises me with a furious passion. And therefore, the channel needs your support. If you like what's happening here, then you should subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already, you should smash that like button now. We have an amazing way of phrasing it. I'm just going to look for it. Here we go. Dr. Prepper nailed it. Don't forget to tell that like button it smells pretty, give it a good old stabbing, abscond to the boiler room with its head, and then return 9 years later to do the same to its parents. See, Dr. Prepper has got the vibe. Yes,
very good.
Yeah, the algo requires interaction, so you liking, you subscribing if you haven't subscribed already really helps. Leave a comment if you feel generous, maybe, especially if you're watching on the replay. Leave me a comment with the score you would give this film. I would love to hear it. It's more data that I find interesting. And if you want to go a little bit further than that, you can, of course, support me either here with memberships and super chats, or you can avoid funding Google in any way by going on Subscribestar. There's quite a few of you over there, and you're very welcome.
Myself included.
Indeed, absolutely. Many fine folk on Subscribestar, and it's better to use that kind of platform. But whichever one you support me on, I will get you early access content. I might be able to drop you a little sneak preview this weekend, actually. Bonus streams, that tends to be what I do. If there's too much to cram in an arc, I do a bonus stream for you. We have one coming up next month on Cat's Eye. I will try and do that early, because I know there's a whole raft of people who were gifted memberships and it might expire. So I'm going to try and get you that bonus stream early in September. But there will always be exclusive content, early access, all that good stuff. And you get to vote on what gets covered on stream. So I hope that is persuasive. It helps fund more ambitious projects like the Blockbuster one, which I have been buying props for. And it's getting scarily close now. But I will move on. I'll move on so I don't scare myself by talking about it.
Okay.
But yes, that is my shilling. Thank you so much, folks. I will move on to our pre-film topic. I thought we'd play a little game.
Good. I was hoping we'd do a game on one of the streams I was on. This will be fun.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a Halloween game stream, so we'll have a little warm-up here. Let's try this. Let's see how this goes. You should all be familiar with the rather excellent Play Your Stars Right. We have a little variation of it. I might move us to the side there. There we go.
That's better.
Right, a variation on Play Your Stars Right. If you are not familiar with Play Your Stars Right, what we do is... What we do is we take a film, we go to its Rotten Tomatoes page, and we then try and see if the score given by critics or fans is higher or lower than another film. It's that simple. And through that, I think we learn a lot about critical tastes and audience tastes. Yes, Dr. Prepper, it is the Rotten Tomatoes one. We are doing a little variation on this because I thought instead of just doing someone's career, which is how we tend to do it, I thought I would look in a series. And then I thought, what's better than looking in a series? Looking in 2 series, right?
Oh, okay, okay.
So I thought we'd go for a very natural pairing. Friday the 13th and Fast and the Furious.
Oh my God.
Oh boy.
No, it makes sense, right? Like,
No.
both of them, huge number of sequels, right?
Oh, okay. I see. All right.
No, look, the links are obvious, okay? Huge number of sequels. They even went to
Did
space.
you make this? Is this you? Did you make this?
Huh? Oh, maybe.
Did you make this meme?
I might have.
This is great. This is good. This is good.
I couldn't resist. So,
I almost choked on my drink at the Biden shower scandal. That's great.
oh, how did that get there? Oh dear. Never mind. So anyway, yeah, we'll just go 1v1. Maybe we'll chat if you've got a vote. Shall we do Yizz and TCG, you as a team versus chat, and I'll go with the aggregate chat.
Sure,
opinion.
that's fine. That's fine.
All right, then we'll do that. We'll do that.
All right. So we're going to start you off, guys. The Fast and the Furious, the original, 54% critic score. I try and go close to the middle to start off with. How do you think critics felt about Freddy versus Jason?
I'm gonna hazard a guess and say that it may have been. I feel like I want to say lower, but not by much, because I know that when this film originally came out, it wasn't that well received.
Not hugely.
No, I mean it did feel very middle of the road, didn't it?
Well, my answer will be, I think that since it was basically just a schlock fest to get names and butts in seats, I'm going to say that the reviewers didn't like it and the audience liked it more than the reviewers.
Yeah.
But I don't know by how much is the thing, because a lot of people that went to see this movie got exactly what they wanted. They just wanted to see Freddy versus Jason, and they wanted horror schlock, and that is exactly what that movie is. So
oh my God, absolutely.
I'm going to say that the critics didn't like it and the audience did, but by what margin, I don't know.
I feel like the margin will be big, because I mean this is a film that I could easily watch again and again. I mean, like, you're absolutely right. It is such a schlock film. Like there's nothing deep about it. It is literally just two horror icons going toe to toe at the climactic
it's like a
stage of the film.
WWF no holds barred match between two of your favorite horror monsters.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the Rock and Stone Cold meet again.
Yeah, it's great. It's great
in a horror format.
It's like Booker T and Stone Cold in the supermarket.
Oh my God, yes.
All right, I'm gonna take your. That was a double lower than.
I feel like it's going to be ever so slightly lower.
Okay, I will reveal that you are correct.
Yes.
Woohoo! All right.
Oh, that's not a big gap though between the audience, though.
Not huge, not huge. Okay, chat. How do you feel critics felt about Too Fast, Too Furious versus Freddy versus Jason? I'm going to wait for the aggregate early chat opinion.
Okay.
And while we're waiting for that to come in,
well,
you know,
while you're waiting for that, I'm going to let you know.
Oh,
I have seen the Fast and the Furious movies 0 times. I know nothing about them. I don't care to know anything about them. I have never given a shit about them. I know nothing about it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a few of them, but I mean, I haven't been keeping up. I mean, what is there, like 10 now?
There's 10, and apparently 2 more are on the way.
Oh,
no,
okay.
wait, there's 11. Hobbs and Shaw is a spin-off.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen like the first 2. There was a Tokyo one, wasn't there? That was the third.
There was Tokyo Drift.
Yeah. I think I've only seen like the first 3, maybe 4 films.
I've seen too many of them. They're a bit of a guilty pleasure for me. Chat is going for higher then.
Okay. I'm not
Is Chat a big fan of early Happer model Devon Aoki or even Mendez, or does Chat really dislike films starring Destiny's Child stars? We'll see.
We've got a couple of lowers there as well. Murgoot, Maverick higher. Johnny recaps and
Prepper went higher. Murgoot went higher.
Okay.
Maverick is gone higher. So I think
we're 3-2.
I think Chat wins it. Chat's a bit split.
Oh!
But Johnny was correct, and Wholesome Chicken Wrangler also correct. Yes. So Yizz, you haven't seen any of the Fast and Furious films, and that is probably a good decision, to be honest. But
I have seen the Friday the 13th series many times, especially Part 3. It's perhaps the best one, and if not the best one, it is second best after Part 6.
I make a strong case for it. I mean, it's certainly the one where it kind of all came together. I mean, 13th is where you get the mask and the boiler suit coming in together. So what do you reckon? Higher or lower?
See, I'm a massive appreciator.
I think it's going to be higher on both counts.
All right, that's a higher for Yizz. TCG?
I do think it'll be higher, but I just want to say that my all-time favourite one is Part 4. I mean, you've got Crispin Glover. What more could you want?
No, wait, no, I got that backwards. Part 4 and Part 6 are the good ones. 3 is the barn one, right?
3
It is indeed.
Yeah.
3's the barn one. Okay, then let me amend what I said earlier. 4 and 6 are the great ones, because you're right. Crispin Glover with the dead fuck thing is number 4.
Oh, yeah, I know. The computer.
that part's hilarious. Yeah.
So good. So good.
Yeah. That's what I meant earlier. I got them backwards. I'm sorry.
There are a lot of them. In fairness, though,
There
I think you can make a... Well,
if 3 is the barn one, let me change what I said. If 3 is the barn one, I don't think that critics would like it, but I do think the audience would like it. So I'm expecting a much higher audience score for 3 over the reviewers.
All right, we'll go with that.
I'd say higher. Oh my god!
Critics hate her. Look, but I mean, look, I'm going to make the case here. I think Part 3 here is being absolutely savaged.
Me too. I like 3. 3 is the barn one, and the barn one's pretty good. It sort of sets the stage for formula murder movies. Not murder movies, monster movies.
Yeah, they find their feet. I mean, 5 has a barn as well, but I think 3 is the one that goes there. It mixes it up. You got loads of different settings. You get more creative kills. I think the critics are way off here. People are sleeping on Part 3.
That is an absolute joke, man. 7%.
I know, it's absolutely savage.
I want to find those 29 reviewers and
Roblox them.
And listen to what the payphone tells you to do to them.
Yes. Nice. I say, hey Marina, I see you've just come in. Good to see you. We are playing a special edition game.
Hello, Marina.
Hello. Play Your Stars Right. We're comparing the Friday the 13th series to Fast and the Furious. This is going to be a very unusual stream. We've got some very high culture, low culture here, and I kind of love it.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting to the movie. Let's go.
All right. Okay, so we're over to chat now. Chat. Fast and Furious, which, oh gosh, was that 6th? Okay, chat, that one versus Part 3. Get your votes in. I've got to look it up. I can't remember. I know the joke is which order are they in. I genuinely have lost it.
I can tell you now, I feel like I know which way this is going to go.
Oh, it's 4. Fast and Furious is number 4. I know it's a meme, but genuinely, I got confused going through these, what the order was for the titles.
I have nothing to say about Fast and Furious. No idea.
Staying away
as most of you probably know, I'm not a fan of the urban market, we'll say.
Hang on, was this the one where Paul Walker had died?
No, that's 7.
7, right, okay.
I think this is the one just before you get The Rock coming in.
Right, okay.
You've got a vote for lower from Waifu, who I think I may have made watch this.
Yeah.
I tend to watch them when Waifu is away doing high culture stuff. I will treat myself to a far too large pizza, and I'll watch one of these terrible films and laugh.
Pizza. Now I'm tempted to order one.
That's so good.
Just say no. Eat something healthier.
Nah, life's too short, and I want to make it shorter.
What's that line from Buffy? It's doing its part to keep America constipated. All right. I've chat. You have to be swifter on the mark, chat. Just go off your gut. I'm going to take Waifu's guess here. Waifu went with lower, I believe. Hello, is it lower?
How can you get lower than 7%? I mean, this is like
lower than 7?
This is like I was going to say that's like the equivalent of getting like a 3 of hearts.
It could happen. Okay. 29% for part 5. I mean, I thought that was a bit of a low ball. So honestly,
now,
right. But this is part 6.
Yeah. Now we move into what I consider to be the good Jason movie. This is when I feel like the series peaked and it was all downhill from here. Friday the 13th part 6 is the good one. It is the one where Jason is unabashedly the power of darkness because magic evil Halloween movie lightning resurrects the corpse of Jason Voorhees to make him the movie monster we all know and love. And it is an absolute schlock fest with plenty of tongue-in-cheek humor, lots of gore, and it's sort of in my opinion, this is the first awesome Hollywood movie that says, hey, let's go big with it, but we keep the monsters serious. Everything else can be a funny joke, even the murders, but Jason has to stay serious and scary. And this is what basically spawned hundreds of imitations for the next 30 or 40 years. This is a fantastic movie. Now, the only thing I don't know is if the critics liked it, because critics are idiots. They're all asshats. So I know that the audience will love this one, but I don't know how high the critic score will be, but I'm still saying it's going to be higher than 29, and I definitely think the audience score for this one will be higher than 67.
All right. TCG, what do you reckon?
I think the
Jean-Paul Sartre joke win critics over?
I think it's going to be higher, purely as sort of Yizz alluded to. This is the return of Jason. This comes off the back of part 5, where they try to pull a Halloween 3 and redirect
and change it up,
and change it up, and
because Jason wasn't even in the 5th one.
Jason.
Of
yeah, Jason was dead and buried by part 4. So in part 5, it almost became like a whodunit. Really.
And 6 is a direct continuation from the Crispin Glover one.
Exactly. So you get is it Corey Feld? Was it Corey Feld?
Corey Feldman.
Yeah. He comes back, and So I think that this is going to be higher. I don't think by much, because I think this was around about a time where critics were quite cynical about horror movies as a whole. But I do think it's going to be higher, just because it's like a return to form, if you will.
Alrighty. You are correct.
Boom.
A very strong
50%.
That
nice.
50% from critics on a horror movie is pretty good.
That's good, yeah.
I'm very surprised by the audience score on this one, honestly. That surprises me. That really surprises me on the audience score. I thought for sure it would be 70% or more. That's wild.
It should be much stronger. I mean, it gives the audience what they want, and it threw in some meta humor that was just really appreciated. But
53 is weird, because everybody I know, even like normies who aren't like really into movies, they all say that 6 is their favorite. I'm just really surprised to see 53 on this one.
I'm torn between 4 and 6 as well. 4, straight horror. 6, it's much more fun. But how will
it's definitely horror schlock. 6 is schlocky.
Over to you, chat. This scored 50% exactly. How did critics think the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift compared? Hello, Mr. Gently Benevolent. Good to see you in chat.
Hey, GB.
Mr. GB.
Yeah, it's been a while.
buddy.
Good to see you, man. We are comparing franchises here. Let's get the votes in. There's Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, which I find very hard to pronounce tonight. Does it beat? Hey, look. I heard the actors mangling Japanese in this. My pronunciation is looking wonderful in comparison.
If you've seen this movie, you have my condolences.
I paid to see this in a cinema. Oh, I know. Terrible. Okay, we've got lower votes are coming in. Here we go. It is... Yes.
Nice.
Oh, no, Jason X.
Subarashi desu ne. chat, San. What a turn up. What a turn up. They were not won over. But
well, speaking of not winning anyone over, let's talk about Jason X a second.
What, you don't
Jason
love it?
X is, first of all, not a Friday the 13th movie, nor is it even a Jason movie. This could just be a schlocky anything monster space movie. It really has nothing to do with the Friday the 13th series, the characters, or even the theme or model of previous Jason movies. This movie is it's almost meta because it's like this is a Jason movie making fun of all of the cheap schlock that was made in the shadow of the Jason movies.
Oh yeah,
it is remarkable, which is why Jason X is one of my favorite Jason movies because it's such a farce. I really like this one. It's a lot of stupid schlocky fun. I've seen it maybe 10, 12 times. It's just great retarded fun. But however, that means that the critics probably crucified this movie and the audience probably wasn't very happy with it either. So I'm going with lower on both metrics.
All right. TCG, do you think critics how do you think they liked its Lex production value? And Lex, basically it looks like Lex.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could easily go either way. I mean, it's such a change in direction for the franchise. And it kind of sort of fit the mold with kind of where Hollywood was at the time, where everything was sort of like uber like futuristic. I think they will appreciate the reimagining, but they will also acknowledge that it's a very, very flawed film in its attempt. So I think it will be higher, but I don't think it will be by much. I'm thinking sort of like the 40s, sort of low to mid 40s.
Ooh,
but
I
love it.
I think critics are going to crucify this one.
Mate,
so there's a split.
But I do love it. I do love it.
It's great, cheesy fun, and critics hated it.
That was right. Yeah.
The audience, though, what is going on, audience? This is good, cheesy fun. The holodeck
yeah,
section
but think about it. If you're a Friday the 13th fan and you want Jason movies, there's nothing there for you. Like this is like the crap that you'll see late night on Sci-Fi. Like it's not good. It is not a good movie. It is a fun, stupid schlock monster movie, and that's all it is. And it has nothing to do with the lore or anything other than they just said, hey, let's call the movie monster Jason and sprinkle a little bit of Friday the 13th fluff in there for the fans and call it a day. That's all that this movie was. It's bad.
Oh, dear. Well, but was it worse than F9? Just F9.
Probably not.
What are we even calling it now? It's just F9. Get your votes in, chat. Yeah, I share a love of just how schlocky it is, but yeah, it doesn't fit in. Friday
Critics probably like the
continuity
F9 better because of the diversity, but I don't know about the audience.
Let's see. Oh, hang on. There was. I have not included the Fast and Furious animated series Spy Racers, which I'm alarmed to see. Goodness me. F9, the Fast Saga. They really are desperate at this point. Slightly higher, I guess. Dr. Prepper and Mogut going slightly higher. Waifu is saying lower.
I think it'd be higher.
Okay.
I feel like these critics.
I have no idea, but I mean, I think that just because of the reason I stated, critics will be higher than 19 for this, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Let's see. Yes, a very strong 59. All right.
Jesus, 82? Ugh.
Yeah. I mean, people started loving these films.
Easily pleased. But what about the 2009 Friday the 13th
Higher.
reboot?
Higher. Love this.
Right.
Jared Padalecki. Sorted.
Yep.
It's got some... she's in the Flash TV series. She plays Killer Frost. She's good in this. It also has arguably my favourite ever line in a horror film, which is... Sorry if this gets the stream demonetized. Your tits are oh my god, I was going to start that again. Your tits are stupendous, and also You have perfect nipple placement, baby. It's.
I think for those reasons that this movie will get a high score from both critics and audience, but I don't like it.
I loved it. I thought it was.
I'm an old curmudgeon. I'm an old curmudgeon, and I don't like series as being rebooted and restarted forever. So I have an axe to grind against this kind of crap.
No, I get that. I do get that. I mean, what annoys me the most is when they reboot franchises and they completely like crap all over the original source material. But I really don't feel like this film did that.
Oh no, you're right. It didn't do
that.
that.
So
yeah.
I mean,
it didn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a bad film, but as long as it acknowledges where it's come from, then I can respect that. But like I say, I mean, overall, I enjoyed this film anyway, just because of the fact that I'm massively into Supernatural. I'm on season 9 now. I'm almost up to episodes that I haven't watched, and of course, it's got Sam Winchester, so I'm like, yeah, I'm a fan.
I'd like to clarify. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just don't like it. I think it was well done. It had good jokes. It had good stuff in it. And I enjoyed watching it a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't have stuck with it if I didn't like it, but I have an axe to grind, pun intended, with this movie, but only for the aforementioned reasons. I'm going to say that critics liked this one much better than 59. I don't know about the audience score because I don't know how many people feel like I do about the reboots and stuff. So we'll see. I don't know about the audience score, but I'm going to call it that the critics are much higher than a 59 for this one.
All right. They hated it.
Oh my god.
Oh my word.
Absolutely savage. Absolutely
I'm so surprised by that.
When we talk about a sort of critical bias against horror, we're not joking. Okay, folks, I think we're very close to the end of this. So I think, chat, this is actually your last chance to guess. So chat, you want to get this right. This is Fast 5.
This game we're playing here solidifies my belief that critics are absolute retards and don't know anything about what they're talking about.
Oh, yes. I actually picked up a fairly academic text, the one I was telling you about. And the first chapter is taking a lot of time to say, in short, critics hate horror films.
I'm not going to lie, I'm livid at that score.
It's savage.
I can't believe that.
Like, for a 2000...
I thought I thought at least 60 or 70 on both. That's what I thought for this one, but apparently not.
Like for 2009 it came out?
Yeah,
like they you had full on boobs, which is like a staple of the Friday the 13th franchise.
Yeah.
If they had removed them, I'd be like, and I've always said it, if there ain't boobs, then it ain't a Friday the 13th film. And they kept it in. They gave us some.
You gotta have horny
lines.
teenagers doing naughty stuff in the dark to get murdered. You gotta have that. It's part of the formula.
It's part of the formula. You can't be replacing it. It'd be like new Coke, wouldn't it? It'd be crap.
Exactly.
But I mean, man,
it's like I say, savagery, absolute savagery. So
that ain't right. I don't even like reboots, and that ain't right. It deserves better than that.
Chat is very split. So Murgoot's going higher, Dr. Prepper's going higher, Waifu is lower, Johnny is going higher. I think chat, overall, I'm going to say you're going higher, and you are correct.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
How is that for putting the boot in? Albeit, okay, Fast 5 is the one that introduced The Rock. So...
I just don't care. I don't care about The Rock. I don't care about this movie series. I just don't care.
Have you ever smelled what he's cooking, though? I mean...
Oh, yes. I smelled what he was cooking for many years, especially in the 90s when he was cool.
Mr. GB, surely part 5. Surely part 5 is... I mean, I shouldn't really rate them, but... I thought the first one also had a very...
No, you can... Listen, you can do it how I do it. You can rate them from an artistic perspective, but because I don't... honestly,
stop. That doesn't matter. Honestly, women don't care about reason and logic.
I mean, but honestly, I'm genuinely like, look, I'm going to repeat myself, but if you're going to make a Friday the 13th film, you have to have them in there. I don't care how PC this world is getting. It is a staple. Okay, you just have to have them. Sorry, there's some things that you just have to uphold and preserve, and it's a hill that I will die on.
A pair of hills.
A pair of hills. A pair of double D heels.
A pair of naughty pillows.
So, final one, guys. Over to you. The original, the OG Friday the 13th. The 1980 classic.
I don't know what the actual percentage from the critics will be, but I am saying it's going to be the highest we've seen yet for a Friday the 13th movie in this game, because it's original. It is also the least like the formula because it was the first one. And I assume this is the first one we're talking about here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was the cover. Okay. Then I'm going to say audience score is going to be overall positive. It will be positive popcorn, but I don't know the number. But I do know that it's probably going to have the highest critic score of any of the Friday the 13th movies we've seen here today yet.
I'm going to swerve on that, and I'm going to say it's going to be lower, and I don't think it will be the highest that we've seen so far, purely because at the time it came out, Halloween was still very much in the front of people's minds.
Wait, then maybe I don't understand how the website works. Does it only count reviews that were contemporary?
No, I think it'll look at modern
all
ones,
reviews.
But
That's what I thought. I thought it was all reviews
maybe.
up to date. That's why I'm saying that it's going to have a higher critic review, because critics hate horror movies, right? And the first one, the original Friday the 13th, is less like the rest of the series. It kind of really didn't hit its stride till 3 and 4, and that's what leads me to think that the critics will like it more. So that's why I'm saying that.
I mean, the fact that it didn't hit its stride till sort of like 3, 4.
But then again, I'm not a retarded movie critic. I actually have intelligence and taste. So what do I know? It's difficult.
I mean, I would rank it up there, but I just feel like they're gonna pan it.
It's hard for me to know what someone with Down syndrome thinks about, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I don't know.
No.
What the hell?
Okay, folks, keeping it family friendly.
It is family friendly.
I will put you out of your misery. Mima's back. Phone died.
Welcome
Okay,
back,
Mima.
Mima.
Well, you're back for the final one. I love that we spent like 45 minutes on this. I love it. Okay. Putting you out of your misery. Final score. 63%.
See, what do I know? What do I know?
Right.
You see, this is why we disregard critics completely.
Why have you put Rishi Sunak there?
I just really like that photo of him.
Also, to be fair, he is a good stand-in for all of the ugly things I've called critics. He's every single one of them. So it's a good graphic. A good graphic.
Shipped in. Anyway, so yeah, that's Yizz, you were correct. That is the highest score of the Friday the 13th series, I think. Let me just quickly check.
I think it was.
Almost like I know a thing or two about a thing or two.
Yeah, he called it, and I'm controversial. I don't even think Friday the 13th is that good, the original. I think it took until part 3 to start sorting itself out.
I also don't think the first one's very good either. I didn't really enjoy it. It was okay, I guess, but I just like a lot of 70s movies. It was just kind of weird. Its tone was all over the place. Its pacing was bad. Like a lot of 70s movies are like that.
It totally panicked and realized it didn't have enough content for the finale, and so it has you on a sort of a hide and go seek chase for 20 minutes, repeating the same. Anyway. So I hope you enjoyed that. I had fun putting this together.
Well, I had fun playing your game, and I like being correct.
Yes. Confirmed. A good call, and we learnt that critics are not to be trusted. But you should trust us, chat. And if you haven't done already, folks, for this kind of high-low culture mechanism that we deploy in an almost juvenalian sense, do give the stream a like if you haven't done so already. Okay, with that said, I will get us back to the meat and potatoes of tonight's stream, the actual film we are here to discuss. 44 minutes in.
I'm so excited.
I love it. But first, a word from our sponsor. Sorry. I felt the turley. Pull. Yeah. Just when you think you've got what you came for. Okay, so we're discussing Blackcoat's Daughter. It is from 2015. It was a slightly delayed release. It's the first film that the director made, but it was the second to be released. So he got a Netflix production out first, and that's by the name of I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. that is a very interesting film that I want to rewatch because I didn't appreciate it initially, but
I haven't seen it yet. I've still not seen it.
It's, if you like Shirley Jackson's stuff and her way of doing the stories, I think you will really like it. It is, in fact, if you like this, I think you will like it.
I'll check it out one day.
Yeah, it is that unconventional approach. The director we're talking about is Oz Perkins, the eldest son of horror royalty Anthony Perkins. And he's a guy who's come into filmmaking very confident in the kind of vibe he wants to make. He didn't go in sort of doing schlock first and doing the sort of studio picks where you just kind of have to do the basics. He came in strong with a vision. And the films that he's made have all fitted into what we would typically call, what some critics would choose to call post-horror or elevated horror. Very controversial terms. I recently got a book that actually addressed this. It's all about post-horror. And it actually gets to talk about these films, which is quite lovely. And it thoroughly disputes the label. It says basically post-horror, elevated horror isn't so much a thing of like the post-2010s. It's kind of a vibe that horror has gone in and out of. It's artistic horror. And we've had artistic horrors since way back when. And I like that approach. But it being an early production, it was made on a very low budget. It didn't get big takings. The box office, as I can find it, is under 40,000, but it was not given a wide release because this was quite early in A24's career, really. So A24, if it had the clout it has now, could have probably made this a big hit. But nevertheless, this went into being a bit of a critical darling. And I hope you're going to see why.
Well, I am here to make a very strong case for it, and I have plenty of notes ready to roll.
Fantastic, fantastic. Before we get into that, just a quick question. You've said already, but I try and remember to ask. Yizz, you've already seen this already, but TCG, had you heard of this before?
Hadn't heard of it, no.
Excellent. So you went in totally blind.
I did. But luckily I had a new TV today to watch it on for the first time.
Oh, fun.
Yes.
I hope it looked gorgeous on it.
Do you know what? It really did. Like, my wife had been going on at me for ages to get a new TV because the one that we had previously, it was all right, but it was a little bit old, a little bit worn. And it wasn't until we set up this one today, really how badly we needed a new one. And so I broke it in with the Blackcoat's daughter.
Oh, nice. I'm looking forward to hearing the thoughts. Yizz, do you remember how you came across this first?
Yes. I believe that back in 2015, 2016, before I canceled my subscription to Pedoflix, my husband and I often looked through all of the online services to look for whatever was new in horror. And we came across a recommendation for this one, or we actually watched it directly on Netflix back around when it came out. And we were both blown away at how a modern movie, especially one made by Oz Perkins, who we never thought made movies. We were like, wow, wait, goofy, gangly Oz Perkins, the kind of goofy, funny guy, he made this? This is brilliant. And we were absolutely floored at just how good and creepy and tightly edited and perfectly shot it was. And anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. I heard about it back when it came out, and I'm pretty sure that we discovered it via Netflix, just cruising for horror movies.
And what a find. I think I was put onto it by Red Letter Media before they sort of bent the knee. Which is maybe its own topic, really. We won't delve into that now. But
I would have a lot to say on that. We better skip it.
We will. We'll in a future stream, maybe. Let's get into the summary. Folks, if you did not manage to see this film, we are going to spoil it. You know how we do. We don't do the quick summary. We go in depth. We give you the detail. All the gory details. So, full spoilers for the Blackcoat's daughter from here on out. And Yizz, would you like to take us through with your summary, as you did with the Autopsy of Jane Doe?
Certainly. This won't take very long because this movie's story is actually really short and easy to explain. The journey is the movie is the journey getting there, and revealing it all to the viewer. First up, obviously, full spoilers, because the whole thing is going to be spoilers. If I had a clever line to wrap the synopsis in, it would be: the Lord works in mysterious ways. Basically, this is what you have with the Blackcoat's daughter. You have a story about the two females, the two femoids that you see here on this image, is the same woman. One when she's like 15 or 16, and another when she's like in her young 20s. What was the time difference? Is it 8 years, 9 years, something like that?
9 years, I think.
9 years, right? Yeah, I think it's either 8 or 9. I think it's 9. But the face on the right is the young girl in high school. The girl on the left is like 24 or something like that, and they're the same person, but you don't know that going into it. This movie is about a Catholic school where this girl here, the name Catherine, she has a vision, a dream vision, that her parents are dead, and the cloaked figure, the black cloak to her left here, walks her and shows her a mangled car. And she wakes up knowing her parents are dead, and she is bereft. And this is the opening scene of the movie. This is how it starts. And we watch a broken timeline of events. They are fed to us in a very expert way. And it's not until 45 or 50 minutes into the movie until it's properly revealed. You can start guessing earlier on because of some clues, but we'll get to that later. But basically, here it is. This girl is, and this is up to your imagination and your interpretation, the black cloak here and the black cloak through the movie is either a representation of the psychosis, the loneliness, and the mental, psychological negativity, entropy, and brutal darkness that comes to take confused, sad, lonely people into doing terrible things like murder and terrorism. Or it's literally a demon, a devil, a dark force like Satan or something else like that, like maybe a dark jinn from like Middle Eastern lore. Mm-hmm. This thing, whatever this is the Blackcoat of the movie. But that name I don't think ever is said in the movie, correct? They never say that, right?
No, they never say it. It's only referenced in a folk-like song at the end, which is, right, I think, a special song for this movie.
Yes. And so in this movie, the darkness, the demon, or her own tortured mind leads her to do rather psychotic murders, where she murders two women, possibly nuns, who are helping a nurse and another administrator lady at the school, and a girl that is also stuck at the school during a holiday break. She kills all three of them, cuts their heads off, takes their severed heads down to a boiler room, and makes them as an offering to the dark power, which she, of course, calls Satan because she's in that paradigm. And, of course, this is horrible. Well, while the events are leading up to this, which we don't get to this until like 55 minutes into the movie, by the way. It's a very slow burn movie, but it's creepy and well done the whole way, but we'll talk about that later. The synopsis is, you also were introduced after the Act 1 to a girl named Joan. Joan is the older face of the two faces. This is also the murderer. This is also the psycho murderer, Joan. We are introduced to her. She takes off a medical bracelet in a bathroom, and someone at a bus stop, a good Samaritan named Bill. Bill sees her cold and alone at a bus stop and says, "Well, you look troubled, young lady. You look cold. Let me help you. Where are you going?" Blah, 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 right? So Bill, the good Samaritan, gets her into the car. We are shown that Bill and his wife in the car, they are of heavy mind. They are of somber mood. And you might ask yourself, well, it's Christmas time, or it's winter time. Technically, it's after Christmas. It's like what, January, February, something like that. But the couple in the car with this young woman, Joan, they are going past where the young woman Joan says she's going to Plymouth or Portsmouth or something, past where the school is, past Bramford, where this Catholic school is, and on their trip there, Bill lovingly and tenderly wants to help this young girl because he says she reminds her of someone he lost. And then 2 or 3 scenes into Joan being a character in the movie, it is revealed that he is mourning. He is going past the school because every year on the day of her murder, they go by the school to have a little memorial service for their murdered daughter, Rose. Rose is the girl that Proper Horror Show showed you a little school photo of early on.
I'll get that back up.
And this is the photo that he shows Joan in the restaurant. And this solidifies to the viewer that it's all connected, right? And then this also solidifies to the Joan character, which, remember, is Catherine 9 years later after she escapes an insane asylum. She realizes these are the parents of Rose here, who she murdered 9 years ago because she thought that's what the dark power, her Blackcoat friend, wanted her to do. And of course, she's lonely. She has no one. And the dark friend is going to be her companion. So she's going to do what it says so she won't be alone. That's why she did the murders for Satan or whatever. And so she feels like, hey, I've escaped. And Bill, the whole time, now I'll get into the details of my notes later, and I have some brilliant things to say about it. But the crux of it is the Jane character 9 years later, Joan, excuse me, is really Catherine, and she feels like this is not a sign from God because Bill talks about things being a sign from God. She feels like this is a sign from her God, the Blackcoat, that, oh, well, this makes sense. I just escaped, and here are the parents of the girl that I murdered. I have to murder them. So whenever they get to where they're going, to Bramford University, well, she stole a steak knife from where they had dinner, and she just murders them both in the car and then saws their heads off and kills both of Rose's parents 9 years later. And she takes the heads into the boiler room, but there's no fire in the boiler. There's no Blackcoat waiting for her, and she's alone again. And so the movie ends with her covered in blood, alone, miserable, wandering out into an empty street with snow everywhere, no cars, no people, and she's all alone, and she cries because her whole life she only has done what she felt like she had to do to not be alone, even if it meant killing and cutting the heads off of innocent people. And the demon, the Blackcoat, is nowhere to be found and leaves her high and dry. And it's a very, very dark story. And the synopsis doesn't do the movie justice because, like I said, this was going to be a very short synopsis. I probably hit the 5-minute mark. And the journey getting there and the story and the emotions and the feelings shown to us as viewers is really what this movie is about, not necessarily the plot itself. So there's my summary. Let's go from there.
I think that's a very good way of approaching it. I'd say one of the characteristics of what we'd call elevated horror, post-horror, is that the plot is usually not super complex, but it's about the depth of interpretation you can get. And by the end of this, you aren't given something that tends to annoy people who expect a typical horror movie is you don't get the kind of directed payoff that you expect. The triumphant movement and the resolution, and here's how you should feel about this. This story,
and also you're never even told for sure if the Blackcoat is a real evil entity, like a demon or something like that, or if it's just all in her mind. Like, you're never told that one way or the other. It's up for the viewer to decide.
Yeah, it's all about interpretation, and we should be confused. We're meant to be confused, and little things in this incline us to go that way. The fact that we get this narrative so disjointedly that when we're as we go along, when we get into Kat's story, or Kat's segment, I should say, the editing becomes quite frenetic, and we jump around a bit. We see things from different sides, and we see a much more confusing picture because we're much more in her head than we were previously. We hear sound pretty distorted.
I'm just gonna say it now because otherwise I'll forget later on. But I thought it was really, really smart and a very subtle sign of foreshadowing when Catherine picks up that envelope and inside is a picture of Rose, and her thumb just slowly strokes across the picture, but very specifically over the neck of Rose. I love that.
Oof.
Yeah, Oz Perkins is a genius.
I mean, definitely. He's a guy who does subtle filmmaking. He leaves these details in. And I think that sort of thing is why this hit me so much harder on the rewatch.
Mm-hmm.
And
Me
I
too.
know from some of the things you picked up in your notes, I found myself thinking, I've missed so much here. I have missed an
Well, like I said, I've
absolute
seen it.
ton.
I've seen it a lot, like maybe 10 times. I've seen it a lot.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
my notes start off with top-notch child and young adult acting. If Oz Perkins did not select absolutely top-tier actresses for the main roles, this movie would not have been good. But the girl who plays Catherine, the girl who plays Joan, and the young woman, maybe girl who plays Rose, top-notch acting beginning to end. That really carries this script and makes it amazing.
Yeah. So to hop on that point, he chose Kiernan Shipka to be Rose. Sorry. Lucy Boynton is Rose. You can see her on screen at the moment. I'd say she's the sort of lesser known of them all, but she's a good British actress. Brit Bongs may have recently seen her in a rather good adaptation of an Agatha Christie story called Why Didn't They Ask Evans? With Will Poulter, incidentally. A rather good adaptation, I thought, but she does a lovely job here. She has to do this great power dynamic shift where she is the mean girl who loses all her status, and that's part of the horror. She's the predator who becomes the prey. Like seeing her suddenly unnerved from her state of supreme confidence is beautiful.
Interesting.
Kat is played by Kiernan Shipka, who is a very safe bet at this time. She had a lot of fame from playing Don Draper's daughter in Mad Men, and had that.
I'm sure she did a great job. She's a great actress.
Oh yes, incredibly precocious. Basically, she's got that Jodie Foster energy for just being
definitely
an extremely precocious actress who can deliver very heavy stuff. And lastly, Emma Roberts. This is done in 2015. Emma Roberts had been doing lighter roles, but she switched to more horrific stuff in the 2010s.
And that's who played Catherine, right?
Yes, sorry. Kiernan Shipka played Catherine.
Oh.
And
so the one we just talked about played Joan.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes, Emma Roberts. People on this channel, you probably know her best from Scream 4.
My wife actually mentioned about her specifically because she's also in a Netflix show called Scream Queens. Apparently, she's really good in that as well.
I've heard good things about Scream Queens.
I did have a mental note as well about with regards to the younger Catherine. My wife, she said, "Oh, she has nice hair."
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. The first picture I have, my first note, is about the hair.
Okay.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm. Well, why don't you tell us about the hair? Then I'll move to my notes.
Okay, so this is character detail. This is beautiful storytelling with character detail.
Yes.
Really early on, just after the nightmare, we see Catherine, looking at her calendar, the February calendar, and she's literally crossing off the days until Mum and Dad arrive, right? It's really clear to us that she cares about this so much. The day before they're about to arrive, she goes and sees the priest and has a very interesting encounter. But look at her hair. Bog standard ponytail, right? Women in the chat, this is your regular day, can't be bothered, just need to put it somewhere hair, right? Quickly shove it back in a pony. That's neat enough, that'll do. On the day Mum and Dad arrive, look what she's done to her hair. That double braid, that's
a lot of work.
Yeah, that I mean, what do you reckon, an hour? I mean, that's an hour to get that right.
Yeah.
It's showing you how much effort she has put in because her mum and dad are arriving. She's really looking forward to it. It also has a little something else going on. The fact that you suddenly see that blonde is swept away, and actually underneath the blonde that we saw in the ponytail, there's actually a lot of darkness, the darker brunette. It's giving you a little implication, like under the surface, under the lighter superficial aspect, there's a darker side. This is all told in the hair. anyway, that is my little note on hair.
Very nice.
My opening notes here are: this is definitely a thinking man's movie. It's not for your usual popcorn chomping audience or bell curve seat fillers.
That's me.
This is
that's me.
That's you. Yes. This is a cerebral movie from beginning to end. I appreciate Oz Perkins, like almost no other creator, for making such a good, high-quality, high IQ movie for people like me in the modern era, because almost no movie is like this anymore. I really appreciate it. This piece is about loneliness, isolation, and the impact society has, especially religious society, on a person who cannot feel God or faith. I found this personally relatable because I've struggled with that my entire life. And this movie, one of the reasons this is one of my favorite movies is I feel like I said to you before the stream, I feel like Oz Perkins knew me and made this movie for me. And it really is just great for me personally. That's one of the reasons I love it so much. So,
yeah, the feelings of loneliness and isolation, I think absolutely. I mean, there's kind of a danger that when you do this kind of analysis, really, you're kind of reviewing yourself as much as you review a movie. But I would pitch in and say that loneliness and isolation, especially within a highly sort of systemic society, is the issue of our time.
Yes, definitely. And I think Oz knows that. And that's why I think that's why he chose to make that the bad guy, so to speak, in this movie, because the devil is really what culture does to people.
TCG. So in this early scene, we've got this. What basically happens here is, for reasons I was not quite sure about, young Kat goes in to see the priest, and there's kind of a bit of tension here. She really wants him to stay and see her performance that's happening before everyone goes away on break and the school empties out. And then they have a bit of a tense thing over whether she was smirking. What did you think about this one?
I feel like I read that differently towards the end of the film. Because I felt like at the beginning it kind of alluded to the fact that, you know, the school performance, yada yada yada. But what I think she was really talking about was what she actually ended up doing after, when, you know, she did the old Charles I with the old ladies and the teenager. I feel like she was disappointed that he wasn't going to be there, because she was going to use him perhaps as one of the intended targets.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah,
I think you're right about that, but I think it's because the movie starts off with the dream scene of her of the Blackcoat showing her the mangled car, and she woke up this morning knowing that her parents were dead. And we also know in a rewatch that means that the Blackcoat, the evil, the darkness, was already in her.
There. Exactly.
So when she's sitting here, she might not have fully embraced that, or the darkness might not be in the conscious driver's seat, but subconsciously the darkness is upset that it won't be able to sink its talons into the priest because he'll be gone.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit where she like starts smiling to herself, and he picks up on it, and you know, he sort of says, "No, is something funny?" And she's like, "No," and then she's like, "I'm just thinking about how you're not going to be here to see my performance." And that I say, as the film progressed, I was like, okay, you didn't mean the piano playing and the singing, because that
and
was
another thing.
Yeah, I'm 100%.
And another thing to bring up about this is Bill later says that finding God and knowing God is not about the overt. It's about the small things, the coincidences. And that is a theme in many scenes of this movie. And that might be what amuses the Blackcoat. It might be what amuses the darkness in her, is the darkness knows she's going to go on a murderous rampage. And the darkness thinks, isn't that amusing? God works in mysterious ways. This guy had an appointment where normally otherwise he would be here and I would get to kill him. But circumstances are taking him away. And now I'm not going to be able to use this agent of mine to kill him. What are the odds? Like, it could just be a simple musing like that, but that might be me looking too much into it. I don't know if it's that or not.
Yizz, you are on the horror stream to look too far into it. This is what we do. Dr. Prepper's got a great chat here, so
Sorry, just before you do, I just want to give a shout out to my wife, man. She's just bought me in some pizza. I bloody love this woman. Honestly.
Oh,
Yeah, Dr. Prepper's correct. That is a theme
Dubs
in
in
this
the
movie.
chat for
Yeah.
TCG's wife.
She's the best.
In fact, pizzas in the chat for.
Give me some
TCG's
pizza emojis.
wife. Let me see how. I don't know. Okay, I don't know if I'll be able to do that. Let me. I'm going to boomer this. Live boomering in action. There we go. Right, there we go. Yeah, I like what you said there, Yizz, about the sort of the irony of he's not going to be there, so it won't go to plan. He's just going to be spared.
And I want you guys to remember for the rest of my notes the opening phrase of "the Lord works in mysterious ways," and that will come up again and again in the notes. So we'll get to it.
What do we think of this bit? Because I do find her relationship with the priest really interesting. I went down the line that Dr. Prepper went. That in a way,
so did I. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, surrogate father. She's looking for that, and I think he wears he's wearing what could be a black coat. I view in some way that she sees him next to her in the dream, although Oz Perkins keeps it completely ambiguous.
Well, also calling it the Blackcoat's daughter is double duty here, because she needs a father figure. She's alone. She's a young girl. She needs this. And since this black coat doesn't give it to her, she takes the next black coat, which is the devil. So she remains the Blackcoat's daughter, even though the good one is not for her. The bad one is.
I also
you can simplify it that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, also I picked up on the fact that, there's quite a reluctance in this conversation between them two. I remember when this particular scene ended, I turned around to me, missus, and I was like, well, that was a very awkward conversation. It's just like a general reluctance to sort of engage with the religious sort of aspect of the environment that she's in. And again, it really magnifies later on in the film where they sit down to eat, and they're saying grace, and she's just and Catherine's just staring at Rose, and one of the nuns or teachers or carers, whatnot, like, you're going to say grace, and she starts to try and say it, and it makes her physically sick. So I think she's just gradually regressing and rejecting the Christian aspect, and very much moving in a direction towards quite literally Satanism towards the end of it. I mean, she's literally like, "Hail Satan."
Yeah.
I mean, she's
if you cut people's heads off as a sacrifice to the devil, you're a Satanist.
Yeah, there's a fine line being taken here, and I liked what you said about she's basically reactionary. She's having a very strong reaction, but she's within the Christian paradigm. So that's what she's going to swing to, which helps with the ambiguity, because again, this could be genuine satanic issues, or this could be a sort of a breakdown from the situation. It could be all in her head. It could all be the sort of...
Well, one of the reasons I don't think it's all in her head, and I lean more towards the supernatural element is real in this. Two reasons. I'll have to skip ahead in my notes a little bit.
Oh, sure.
Two reasons. Number one, later, after the breakfast scene, late in the movie, when she calls one of the nun ladies the C word, there is audio. Okay,
I've got the exact moment she says it.
When she says, "Take your hands off me, C word." When she says C word, there is, for the first time in the movie that's noticeable and in your face, there is audio attenuation to the C word. And it's creepy to the listener, the viewer, just as, you might expect it to, if that happened to you in real life. Like if someone said something hateful to you and the last syllable of the hateful thing they said was weirdly reverberated and vibrated through your body, that's really unsettling and supernatural. So this is clearly not just in her head. Everyone there reacts to it like something magical and supernatural just happened. Then later, after Catherine is shot by the state trooper, and when she's in the hospital, and the father comes back and does the exorcism on her, and Catherine sees the black cloak leave. Then at the end of the movie, there's no black coat, even after she offers it more heads. then that sort of goes to show you that, well, magic is real, the devil is real, the exorcism worked, and the priest correctly identified the sickness and cast it out of her. Now she's just a tormented person that has a lot of horrible problems because she was possessed by a demon. So I think there's more evidence to lead towards something supernatural was happening within the Christian paradigm. I think that because I've watched it many, many times, and I that's what I think. But again, nothing is solid. You can go either way. It's your perception. You can believe what you want. But I lean more towards supernatural.
It works well either way. We get little hints, like if you want the evidence that it's supernatural that's a bit more overt, you get a few bits, like a scene where Kat does some weird contortion.
Yes, where her legs flip over her head on the bed. Yeah, like that's definitely supernatural.
Yeah.
And then you could also say it's supernatural that Rose's parents meet her on the bus stop after she escapes the loony bin. Like, what are the odds? Like, and we're even told by multiple characters in the movie that God works in mysterious ways. So the Lord works in mysterious ways, and so does the devil. Or who knows? Maybe God wanted them to get murdered. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? God works in mysterious ways. We don't know. So that's why I lean towards supernatural being quote unquote real in this movie, is because of all of that stuff.
Yeah, it goes a bit beyond sort of story coincidence and. Or the kind of necessary contrivance you might throw in so that you can have a strong story. The rule is always, and I quite like it, that you can have a big contrivance to kick your story off, but you shouldn't depend on it. Whereas
I'd like to respond now to something that I wrote in my notes to Dr. Prepper, who said, that was my interpretation. Dr. Prepper says that was my interpretation as well. The exorcism worked, and then she willfully murdered the Rose's parents for her own purposes. Yes, and let me tell you why. let me find in the notes here.
While you're doing that, Yizz, I'll just point out there's discussion about being reminded of the Marini. You've said it very nicely there. The unalivings related to the Slender Man. TCG might know that. That was a fairly recent thing, quite tragic, that really sort of derailed the Slender Man movie that they had coming out.
Yeah, I need to refresh my memory about that one, but I know that there was I think it was 2 teenage girls who basically got like proper deep into Slender Man lore, and decided to basically put one of their friends or a girl up as almost like a sacrificial offer for Slender Man. I'd need to go back and deep dive that one because I can't remember. I'm pretty sure there were 2 girls and one victim, but the victim survived. Unless there's another one that I'm not aware of, because Marina's saying 3 girls and 1 girl of 3 was unalived. I'm pretty sure that girl survived, but I'd have to go back and double check.
Well, back to the movie here. When Joan, the older Catherine, the escape from the loony bin Catherine, meets Bill, the father of dead Rose, Bill talks to her in a long, serious, emotional conversation about if she believes in God, and talks to her about God works in mysterious ways. You can't go looking for God and avert things. He shows you he is real subtly, little things, little coincidences. And so now we have to talk about the payphone. Because this matters for what I'm about to say.
Okay, let me get the payphone up. I think, yeah, I've got it right.
Okay. At the school 9 years earlier than Joan, Catherine goes to the phone, which rings, by the way. This payphone in the darkness in the in the empty school because everybody's on holiday. The phone rings. She answers it. It's weird static. One time when she's on the phone, you can hear dark, creepy, attenuated voices, and I'm pretty sure it says, "Kill them all. I need you to kill them all," or something like that. And so clearly, she is psychotically getting her orders from the Blackcoat through the phone, right? Now, this scene here is Joan's hand 9 years later. We see this first. Later in the movie, when 9 years earlier, Catherine, right before she kills both the nuns and cuts the head off of Rose, she gets a call from the phone, and she needs direction because she needs to know how to proceed. And she looks at her left hand, again with 2 quarters in it, and picks up the payphone and gets orders to kill people. Here, this scene happens before she has the conversation with Bill the Good Samaritan, who tells her that God works in subtle, mysterious ways. And she knows now, well, God is working in mysterious ways, and my God is the Blackcoat. My God is telling me what to do in mysterious ways. My God sent me the parents of the girl he wanted me to murder 9 years ago. They came to me and found me at a bus stop. It's clear that my God, the Blackcoat, wants me to kill them and sacrifice them to him again. And if I do that, maybe I will get back into the good graces of my God if I do that. And so that's how all of this ties together with what we were just talking with Dr. Prepper's comment, is she believes that, yes, the demon was cast out of me. My only friend, my God, was taken from me by that evil priest. And now this is my God showing me the way to get back into his good graces, so I'm not alone. And so that's why I think she is motivated to murder them, because she feels like it's a sign from God that she is supposed to fall back into his good graces.
Yeah, it's there's so much we can get from this. I mean, we might be in reaching territory, but she has there 2 quarters. 2 quarters makes a half. We see this set up twice.
Mm-hmm. And 2 halves make a whole.
2 halves make a whole. What she's trying to do is both return and complete. She feels incomplete. Joan is very much not herself. She's trying to find her path, and I think it's very telling.
And also,
the way she reaches her God is by the phone. It's a separation. She's reaching out. It's something to connect to at a distance. The fact that
I think it's an analogy for prayer. I think the phone is an analogy for prayer. That's what I think.
Yeah, massively.
Because remember, in the Christian paradigm, prayer is for us. Prayer's for us, not God. So that's why I think this is an analogy for prayer.
Yeah, I mean, it works. It's the modern thing, but yeah, it is that reaching out. And again, back to the father figure stuff. She can't access her parents by phone, but she can reach out and contact the God.
Yeah.
When she tries to reach him again now, the line's disconnected, which we'd later find out makes sense because, well, it makes sense because the school is closed, but it also makes sense because of the exorcism. It works on many levels.
I mean,
indeed.
Well, I mean, that exorcism was, the exorcism was very specific in that, you know, he must never return again, or you know, never possess her again. So, you know,
and after 9 years, clearly that demon's moved on to someone else now.
Yeah, it's very much an injection for life job. Please, Horrorshow, you know that.
I see you're happy about James Remar's casting.
Oh my God, I love the fact that that guy will only ever be 2 people to me. Okay, he will either be Harry Morgan from Dexter, or Raiden.
Oh yeah, in the sequel, in Annihilation, right?
Yeah, in Annihilation. Yeah.
Well, before we move on from this particular part, I want to say something else that is not obvious or mentioned in the movie. This is just me making assumptions. Oz Perkins, being the writing, filmmaking genius that he seems to be with this film, what are 2 coins also used for? 2 coins are put on the eyes of people for Kiernan the Boatman. Who's Kiernan the Boatman? He is a black cloaked figure that takes us all across to the afterlife. He shepherds us from living to the dead. That's what she's doing. She is shepherding souls from the living to the dead for her dark god. Perhaps there's symbolism here. Perhaps this is supposed to remind us of death and passing. I don't know, but it's 2 coins, and Kiernan is a big black cloak figure. So
I did think that the 2 coins were specific. Well, were intentionally used because, like, you're absolutely right. They do symbolize death in that, you know, you put them on the eyes for the journey to the other side. Is it Greek mythology?
Yeah,
that
Greek.
has that. Yeah, Greek mythology has that. So I did feel like that was very intentional. I'm also very proud very proud to say that I did spot the 2 coins at the beginning and then later on in the film.
Good.
I don't know, man.
Good.
Do you know what? I think it's this bloody new TV that's actually caused me to focus more because I can see more. I can't believe it. So, but yeah, it's very, very much apparent at that moment that these two are the same. Like if you hadn't got it at that point, it's very apparent that these two are one and the same.
Well, do you have a still shot? Since we're here on Joan, do you have a still shot of her in the hotel, either looking down at her feet at the drain, or naked in a towel, or looking at herself without a shirt on, just wearing a bra in the mirror? Because I have notes about this.
I've got her in a towel.
That'll work.
I hope
That'll
works for you. She's a bit blurry in this, but
that's fine.
I got this for the interaction between Bill and Joan.
Yes, this is perfect because I have commentary on this. Now we've already told lots of spoilers, right? So this of course is going to make sense to you. Nudity shows vulnerability. And we see not just Joan, but other characters in the movie looking at themselves in mirrors. This also shows vulnerability, curiosity, or low ego. This compared with staring down at toes and bare feet is usually conveying a mix of childhood listlessness, needing direction, loneliness, adolescent isolation, pondering the why of things, etc., as well as just feeling vulnerable in general. Because when you don't have shoes, you don't have clothes, you feel far more vulnerable. Without a single word, Perkins conveys a brilliant emo deluge of thoughts in both the conscious and subconscious mind by showing bare feet, nudity of a pensive, sad, alone young person. Now we don't see the murders until after this scene, and so here's the second paragraph of this point. But then, in the final act of the movie, we see Catherine was barefoot when she did her original murders, which visually ties a bow on the scenes with Joan. Joan was not being reminded of her vulnerability by staring down at her bare feet. She was being reminded. She was being shown a sign from her god, the Blackcoat, that yet again, I'm sorry, not yet again, but like Bill was being shown a sign by his god by finding this young woman who needed help. They are both being shown signs by their god in this scene of, these are the things from your past. You must do an action because of your past. She must kill Bill, and he must help Joan. And I was proud of myself for putting that together.
No, extremely well observed. That was one of the things you picked up on that I thought, I wish I'd seen that. But yeah, that wonderful thing that we are. This is kind of a post-horror thing. We are typically trained to instinctively think of female vulnerability, female victimhood. Post-horror reflexively kind of avoids that and undoes it. So in this one,
and as TCG can tell you, females kill a lot of people, don't they, TCG?
They certainly do.
Oh yeah. But this doesn't do it in the girl boss way. This is far cleverer.
This is a very proper female murder. Yeah, using misdirection and surprise and things like that. Yeah,
misdirection is exactly it. Yes, the signs that we typically think of as innocence, this film then gives us a valid alternative meaning for them. It's brilliant. I've popped on the screenshot for Kat here, where you can see that she's barefooted after a murder. I'm going to go back to to this one, because I thought this scene hit really deeply. You talked about them seeing little signs. You can kind of get it here, but I have another one where it's more obvious. But Bill is wearing a black shirt with a white collar. Bill is meant to kind of remind her of a priest here. He's talking about
certainly.
God as well. And we later find out he's a father. He's saying, "You remind me of my daughter." These are the kind of little signs and coincidences.
Good spot.
Yeah, they are fueling the fire. This is exactly the little sign that she needs. And so much will come from her being told that she reminds him of his daughter. She will act in certain ways because of that. But this scene in particular, I thought was one of the most tense ones.
Oh yes, oh yes. I have two other little notes about this scene.
Please do.
Before I'm done with the notes on this scene. Speaking of nudity, I'm glad that we were not shown earlier in the film why Joan has that bullet wound scar on her arm. That would have spoiled the puzzle and been too low IQ for this movie, and I'm glad Oz Perkins didn't do that. When she's getting out, either into or out of the shower, you see that she has a bullet wound scar on her left arm, and that's where the cop shoots her when he finds her with the severed heads in the boiler room. And I'm glad that they didn't telegraph that beforehand. Number two, and Chloe was proud of me for this, immediately, a clever viewer will know right away that she is not Joan, and that the purse is not hers because of the way she dumps the purse out on the bed. Do you want to talk about that a minute?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of these great little tells that you just... You don't dump your bag out like that. You just don't. If you're familiar with your bag, if you know the contents, you look for a specific thing. She was dumping the bag out because it wasn't hers, and she needed to see what was in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this little behavioral tell that gives away that she stole it. Because at this point, we're only just getting the confirmed tip-offs. We don't know about the murders. We also don't know about the relation to Rose at this point.
Because it's not until the restaurant scene that's solidified.
Exactly. We're getting just before that. So it's just beautiful character detail. She's still being presented. All the signs are there that would make us typically read her as vulnerable. But they've fed in a few things for us to notice and start to see beyond that.
I'd like to ask you and Wholesome Waifu, or anyone who saw the movie recently, I want to ask you, there's two questions that I had sort of at the beginning of my notes, and it's not really about anything other than things I didn't hear or don't understand. First up, early in the movie, in Rose's bathroom scene, just after the boyfriend in the car scene, whenever the heater on the wall in the bathroom is rumbling and making clanky noises, she hears odd voices. I couldn't tell if there were words you could make out. I boosted the volume. I ran it back 3 times, and it definitely sounded like words, but I couldn't make out what it was. Did anybody pick up on that? Because I couldn't in that scene.
I also could not make out what it was, and in that I was sort of tempted. I'm in a bit of a bind with that sort of stuff, because I figure when a filmmaker does that, they want you to not quite pick it up. And I always feel
I was just curious because I wanted to know what it actually was, but I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. I feel it's that sore spot of if you're meant to be on the edge of understanding it, maybe we shouldn't. When subtitles just spell it out, it kind of ruins it. So
and my other question I had leads into the next scene I want to talk about. So if you don't mind, can we do that?
Oh, sure. There was another thing about this one I just wanted to stick on before we move.
Oh, sure, please.
If that's okay. Just again about how this film is playing with the typical stuff, but not doing it. This scene I found so uncomfortably tense because Bill has picked her up at a bus stop. It's super sketchy. He's reassured her that his wife is in the car. But when she gets, because obviously dangerous situation, stranger danger, you picked up at a bus stop, she's vulnerable, etc.
And it shows us that Bill really is the good Samaritan he lets on.
Yeah, but the signals are there to make us doubt Bill. We're naturally suspicious. The wife keeps it a bit tense in the car. So
and that's the scene I want to talk about next. Is the wife in the car scene?
Cool. Yeah.
First, let me ask you a simple question about it. In a line of dialogue that I don't understand a deeper meaning to, and I don't really get. After the mother, which we'll get to what all she says, at the end of her diatribe, she says, "I can't see you at all." Now, on the surface, I've seen a lot of horror movies. That's like in a dumber movie, I would be led to think, does the wife know that the husband is just seeing a ghost, and she's trying to tell her that she's not even real, she's already dead? That's not this movie. This movie's too smart for that. So when she says, "That's what Bill sees in you, but I can't see you at all," I didn't really know how to take that. I don't know what what Oz is wanting me to get from that. I thought about it for like 30 minutes and I couldn't come to anything. Like, what does that say to you? Because I don't get it still.
I have a take, but TCG, do you have thoughts on that line when when Bill's wife, and I should look up her name, I'm afraid. I think Bill's wife.
I don't remember her name at all. It's
Linda?
only said once in the movie. I don't remember it.
Is it Linda?
Linda, yeah, it is.
Is it? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Linda.
Thank
what
that
did you
TV.
think?
That TV's even making me remember names. That's amazing.
Oh dear.
That's a good TV.
What do you make of the line? It's quite ambiguous.
I just think it boiled down to signs. I mean, Harry. I'm going to call him Harry because I'm sorry, he's not.
His name's Bill.
Harry.
Call him Bill.
It's Harry.
Duck season fire.
He quite clearly is a guy who can't really let go. You know, I know he gives it the old time heals and all that jazz, but you can tell that. I mean, he's the kind of guy that's always looking for signs. It's the whole reason why he picked up Joan in the first place, is because of what it's all interpretation. This film is all interpretation.
Right. So what does that? What do you think that's an interpretation for? I can't come to anything.
Well, again, I think he's just looking for any. I mean, I don't know exactly. I mean, I think it just boiled down to. I mean, like you said, he saw God in her when she said that she was going to Portsmouth, and obviously they go through Bramford on the way, and he just saw a young girl who would have been around about the age of his daughter, just so happening to be travelling in the same direction as they are, and just put two and two together and thought, oh, this is a sign. This is, you remind me of my daughter. Whereas I think the mum is a bit more pragmatic and a little bit more
as females are.
Fair enough. But yeah, and I just don't think that she can essentially be as optimistic or as hopeful, or maybe even has lost a little bit of faith because of the tragedy that occurred and the manner in which their daughter was taken. You know, like he still is very much God-fearing, and and is looking for those signs where she essentially has shut all that off. Hence why she can't see her at all.
So
again,
the line, would you say her line could be rephrased as, he can see our daughter in you, but I am so shut down, I can't even see you at all. Yeah. I can't see anything.
Or as a distraught femoid, she is trying to let the hostile femoid encroaching in her private space know that she is nothing to her, and that it's all in Bill's head, and she doesn't want her to get any ideas. It could be that too. But that's a very cold, ugly, earthly read on that. But I don't think that's what Oz is trying to convey. I'm just saying that the line alone leads me to think maybe that.
I mean, you could also interpret, again, it's all interpretation, but she might also see Rose as a subconsciously as a threat to her.
I think the lines support that, to be honest. They're ambiguous enough that you can read it as almost she's worried he'll be a creep to her, basically.
Look at the interactions that they have throughout the movie. I mean, Bill, first of all, Harry picks her up on the outside that station, outside the bus station. Where's the wife? Wife's in the car. She doesn't know what they're talking about. She doesn't know what they're saying. You then see the next time you see him, he's going into her hotel room and she's in a state of undress with nothing but a towel on, and even Joan turns around and is like, what are you actually doing here? And then he sort of is like, well, anyway, I'll be off. Meet me downstairs for dinner. And then you go down. And see them again later on in the film. There, it's just Bill sitting there waiting for Joan, and Linda again is nowhere to be seen. Yeah, and so it's
I just wanted to voice that because that was the only line of dialogue in the movie that I couldn't really make anything out of. But that's not necessarily really important. That was just a curiosity of mine. Thank you both for humoring me. Thank you, chat.
Can I pitch in a reading of it?
Sure, please.
So I think on one level I go with TCG's reading, that it's just can't even see you beneath me, like not capable of seeing you, etc. But in the other, I think it's sort of it's pointing to the emptiness in Joan. Joan, as Kat, had a purpose. She had this connection to her God, and she let him consume her, right? But we're going to find out that she's lost that connection, that she's absolutely empty.
Like the wife.
So for that reason, there's nothing to see in her. She's hollowed out.
Okay.
She's just sort of stuck repeating it.
Okay. And she can't see her at all because there's nothing to see. I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
like
that's not really the important part of the scene.
Hollowed out. No,
that's. I'll let you
cut
talk.
You off, so I was pausing.
No,
sorry.
I talk a lot because I'm so excited and have so much prepared. But go ahead.
Well, it's just because TCG touched on it. I really wanted to harp on this because what I got so uncomfortable and tense. Like it's not scared. It's like, well, maybe it's kind of scared, but let's say sort of extremely uncomfortably tense when Bill visits her, because this scene was all about, on the first viewing, is Bill actually a creep? Yeah. Is he a good Samaritan? We're primed to view that, the Christian guy is actually a predator.
But that doesn't happen. They subvert your expectations.
They did, in the best way.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say something. Hang on a sec. Oh my God, it's just slipped. I mean, again, it's... that's what I was going to say. Yeah, so, in the 9 years since the murders took place and now, you don't really know what the relationship between Linda and Bill is like, So, something as tragic of that, would have a massive impact on their marriage. And, Bill spends a lot of time talking to Joan and as Linda alludes to, this isn't the first time he's done something like this. And he always talks about, his daughter, how these girls remind her of him. And she says it with such venom. Like, you kind of do wonder whether he has said this before and it may have led to something else. And just on this occasion, it didn't. Yeah,
I didn't get that vibe at all, but I see why you say that.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, it may not be the case, but it's just, he's a guy who again is looking for signs in everything, and sometimes it may even be just an excuse just to strike up a connection that he's lost with his wife because of she's shut down in response to the brutality
certainly
of how their child was taken away.
I see that. So, all of that is interesting and good, but the point of the car scene is actually not about anything we talked about. Proper Horror Show, do you want to talk about what the wife actually delivers and what we take away from the scene that matters?
Oh no, my mind's blank. Do you want to take it and just jump?
Oh sure. No, what we are told in the scene of Joan in the car alone with Linda the mother, we learn two things: that Bill has been this way with young girls before who remind him of Rose, and we also learn that that time has passed because this happens. The scene in the car happens after we're shown the picture. Now, the picture alone, I don't think tells us the time frame. Doesn't she deliver to us that it's been many years? Or did he tell us that just before the car scene? It's one of the two.
Sorry.
I don't remember exactly.
You're right. I'll go to the other one. This
it's one of the
is
two.
The first... Oh, hang on. There we go. I've got this labeled Rose Photo / Priestish. We've got this thing of... this confirms for the first time... that we've had a jump forward in time.
Yes.
When we see this photo of Rose, and it's the same one that we saw get taken earlier.
Yeah.
That I've got it. I don't know if it's just me or if it was the way it was shown, but in slow-mo, but it kind of feels like this has a look of one of those, I don't know, this girl is missing photos. Like it's just
definitely
something comfortably uncanny about it.
Yeah. And so the scene in the car with the mother...
got to take a moment here. The NREAB has been dropping gifts there like a boss. Thank you so much, the Enriab. All right,
Thank
folks.
you.
This is extra motivation. We will get that bonus stream out for you. As I mentioned at the start, we're doing a bonus stream on Cat's Eye. I will try and do that as early in September as I can, so maybe next week. I'll see what I can do as a little treat for you all. But yeah, thanks again, the Enriab. Much appreciated. And welcome to all the new members.
So the car scene with the mother, Linda, we just learned that a number of years has passed, right? And
that's right.
We know that when Joan is in the car with Linda, she has already stolen the knife that she plans to murder them with. She's sitting in the back of the car, hiding the murder weapon, knowing she's going to stab them both to death in the near future tonight. And the mother says Bill has been like this with other people. You're not unique, etc. And it's not what the mother says. It's what the mother is saying that matters to the scene. The mother shares a lot of heavy emotional gravitas about things about her past, her murdered daughter. And Joan sits there like she's listening to somebody at the bus stop read off a shopping list. She has absolute non-emotional engagement and is completely cold. And that is an absolute banger. Now, TCG knows this from all his crime study stuff. The way that she acts in the car is an absolutely emotionally detached, murderous look. Like she has no human connection, no emotional connection, and no care in the world at all what this woman is saying to her, even though she's spilling her heart and most intimate of intimates to her. That's the part that I thought mattered most about this scene, is it shows us that, yes, Joan is a cold, detached murderer. We know it. She didn't steal the knife for self-defense against the creepy old dad guy who might have the hots for her. She stole the knife because she's ready to murder both of them. And this scene secures that for you as a viewer, as a clever viewer, I think.
Oh, yeah. It's got that initial reading that the Linda is just too hostile, making it really weird, make it really awkward. But that second viewing, once you've got all the information, it shows you she's sociopathic. She's now got the signs that tell her what she has to do. And she's going to go ahead and do it. I found Linda really fascinating as a character, just for how she has that completely different response to Bill. Bill seems like he hasn't given up hope. He keeps trying to fix things. He keeps trying to sort of effectively find his daughter in girls that he can help. And it seems like the wife is just furious with him for not letting go, not moving on, almost not accepting and trying to varnish the truth. Like she specifically, she kind of attacks him by asking Joan, did he tell you she was murdered? Which, as if he would just say, oh, she's gone. She would soft pedal it. Whereas the mum is just not soft pedaling it. She's feeling the fury. She's feeling the pain. She can't even bear to go close to the school.
Yeah, she doesn't want to stop at all.
But yeah. Oh. Yeah, Linda doesn't get to say much, but she absolutely nails what she does.
No, the actress nails it. What little speaking there is from Linda is you know, A rank or grade A, S rank, top tier mother acting. It's very good stuff. Now, if you're ready, we can move on to other scenes for sake of time. Is that okay?
Oh, absolutely. Should we stick with the Joan storyline just to sort of round that bit off?
It's difficult because everything I have to say sort of talks about the back and forth. But
okay, no, go ahead. Proceed.
When it comes to Joan and discovering that she's Catherine, the first time, in my opinion, that you get visual confirmation of that is not just that you've told about the timeline and the murder of Rose and all of that, but after the scene which we love of the hotel room scene, which is one of the most tense and pensive scenes in the movie. After that, we cut back to Catherine. Catherine, it's already the day after everyone's left, the day after her parents were supposed to have come and they didn't. And Catherine gets out of the shower. She's talking to Rose, the soon to be murdered. Catherine has hair identical to Joan's now. Joan just got out of the shower. Catherine just got out of the shower. They both have the same haircut, the same hair color. And I feel like that is on-screen visual storytelling, because one of the best things you can do as a storyteller is to show and not tell. Oz Perkins is clearly a genius at that. He shows us this is the same girl. And soon after that is when we have the second 2/4 in the hand scene, which solidifies that. So we know now from the haircut and the way that the angle of the camera is on both actresses that this is the same character. And I just thought that was worth mentioning because I think that's intentional. Did you think that too about the hair?
Oh yeah. I
yeah,
focused
definitely
on that a little bit. Just that change that confirms it. Oh.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. The hair transformation is visually describing to the viewer a metamorphosis of Catherine. Definitely.
And in screenwriting, that's a synthesis of two disparate characters becoming one character. So, next about sort of the order of scenes, because I made these notes as I watched and rewatched the movie twice for this. So, next up, what we have is something that occurred twice. Twice in the movie, Catherine says something off-putting and odd directly to Rose. And this is where your what is it that you call it? Your what is it? The hints of homosexuality or whatever it is you say sometimes.
Oh, the gay reading.
The gay
reading. That's it. The gay reading here. Twice, Catherine says to Rose, "You smell pretty." The first time is early in the film when we learn that Rose is kind of a petty C word. You can sympathize with Rose because we've all been there. We've all been a child. We've all been rebellious. We know what it's like to grow up. We know what it's like to rebel against authority and parents and all this stuff. So we know the archetype that Rose is in the movie. Now, we haven't talked about it yet. Rose is the murdered girl whose parents were late picking her up because she told them the wrong day to come. And she thinks that she's pregnant. She's seeing a young guy who's older than her, probably 20 or 22, something like that. She's supposed to be 16 or 17 in the movie. So she's dating a kind of age-appropriate guy who's a little older than her. And she's worried she's pregnant. There's even a scene when she leaves the school and she has the talk with the boyfriend and all that. But we'll get back to that later. Early in the film, before we even know any of this crap, Catherine and her are getting to know each other because the father who runs the school tells Rose, well, you got to look after Catherine because her parents aren't here. You two are the only ones here. You got to look after her. Rose, of course, doesn't like this because she wants to go out late and be with her boyfriend and go out and do out of town stuff or whatever. So when they're first meeting each other, Catherine says, "You smell pretty." And the viewer early in the movie thinks this is just something awkward that a young girl would say to a slightly older girl because this is a female saying to another female, "I recognize your attraction superiority and I'm going to stroke your ego because this is how society works."
Hang on,
later on,
does she say that? She says it earlier. I completely
she says
missed
it twice.
that.
Yes, in their first interaction, she says that to her. Yes,
darn,
and
I totally missed that.
Well, aren't you glad I'm here? So
yeah,
much later in the movie, just before the scene where she murders Rose, she says, "You smell pretty," standing at the doorway, sort of looming and looking creepy and scary. She says, "You smell pretty." And it's delivered in an entirely different tone. And it's almost like she says, "I want to eat you up. You smell so delicious. I want to cut you into pieces and see what you taste like." That's how "You smell pretty" is delivered the second time. And I think that's a beautiful callback and showing us that this character has been sinister from the very beginning, and the darkness has been slowly changing her and turning her into the murderous servant of evil that she becomes.
Yeah, it's also not the only thing they do twice, because I know I mentioned it earlier at the beginning.
Oh, there's
of the
lots of
stream.
parity in this, yes, but I'd love to hear what you have to say. Go ahead.
But when she does the thumb stroke across Rose's neck in that photograph, she does it twice. Or is that just it once repeating? But either way, like you get the first time, and there's almost like a scene of almost like admiration because Rose is quite an attractive young girl, and we see Catherine in the beginning as almost like an introverted, sort of socially awkward individual. But then when you see it later on again, there is very much like with the "You smell pretty" line. There's a sense of there's a predatory nature about just that small little movement, The context has completely changed by the time you're seeing that again.
That's something this film does so well, is repeat something, give you different context about it. Dr. Prepper's just referenced one of those. Rose getting a photo taken it's kind of, it's got an odd vibe to it, but the second time you see how false that smile was.
Yeah.
This time
now sorry,
I absolutely adore this thing where Rose is super confident, is basically bullying Kat, just treats her like crap. And you get the feeling she's probably not the only one to treat Kat this way. And that just sets up the most amazing turnaround when suddenly it's Rose at Kat's door. The power dynamic has totally shifted, and then Rose is scared of Kat. That is so effective. I love it.
There's two other important notes I want to mention here, and they both involve throwbacks and connections between the beginning and the end of the film. First, let's keep talking about the things that that young Catherine says. In the beginning, when Rose and Catherine first meet, Rose is laying down the law. I'm the older one. I'm the pretty one. What I say goes. And we all know how it works in school, telling freshmen about the pool on the roof to get them locked out, like in Hackers, telling people that, oh, well, you have to have a certain pass. And you know, the freshman wanders around asking every teacher for a pass that doesn't exist, that kind of trick. Well, this is a Catholic school. And what does Rose tell young Catherine? Did you know that the two nuns, they don't have any hair on their whole bodies? They shave their heads, they shave their eyebrows. And so-and-so told me somebody who was at school here 3 years ago said that she saw them down in the boiler room worshiping Satan. And what does young Catherine say? What does she say?
Who
Chloe,
told you that?
do you remember? She says, who told you that? Because now that we know at the end of the film, now that we've seen the darkness has been in the driver's seat from the very beginning of the film, the darkness says, who told you that? Meaning, number one, that there was no satanic bullshit, and the entity knows that's lies because he would have known. He's the Blackcoat. He's the devil. Or number two, there have been other possessions and other devilish deeds being done at the school, and the entity is wondering how she knows that. You take that line, who told you that? In an entirely different light once you know what you know at the end of the movie.
I mean, I read that slightly differently, in that when you're seeing it again for the second time, Rose's voice is slightly warped. You know, it does a whole like demonic-y type thing, and I'm thinking at that point, it's the demonic entity possessing Rose for that brief moment in time to mess with Catherine.
I think you're wrong, but okay.
I had a different read. Like, I like it. It reads superficially, like just, oh my gosh, where did you hear this rumor? But the other one, I thought, you could, if you want to avoid all the supernatural stuff, I don't, but if you wanted to say it's all in her head, then you could say that's where she gets the idea to go down to the furnace.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. A non-supernatural reading, TCG and you were absolutely correct. That is the impetus, Mark. But I don't think that that's what we're supposed to take from this. But that could just be my interpretation.
No, I much prefer the one of actually she was down in the basement already. That was her. And the rumor got out but twisted it.
Yes, exactly.
So I like that a lot more.
And again, of course, since Oz Perkins is clearly good at this, he could have made this open-ended so both of these interpretations could be correct. Because I completely believe he's that talented.
Yeah. He's not... He doesn't spell it out, but he doesn't just keep it pointlessly ambiguous. You can read this in different ways and get a lot from it. So, yes. Great catch on that phrase. TCG, you picked out something else that you really liked during that conversation when Rose is checking on Kat, and Kat has started freaking her out.
Oh, I've
just
notes
got that
about
on
that
screen
too.
now.
Have you got notes for that?
I have notes on that, but we're
Brilliant.
still not done with who told you that because I have more notes on that too.
Please do go on. Yes.
There is also, if we are assuming that the devil or whatever was not manipulating Rose as the impetus point, I have another note about who told you that. Alternatively, when Catherine asks who told you that, Kat is wondering if the Blackcoat, her god, might also be talking to Rose as well. She doesn't want to be alone, and she thinks maybe my god speaks to another here, and I can have a compatriot. I can have a friend in the dark god of the Blackcoat. We can be together in these dark deeds. But sadly, that is not the case.
Oh.
That's an
So that was another
point.
that was another pondering
Yeah.
musing that I had.
I like it.
All right.
Do you think that connects to the thing TCG picked up?
I mean,
Maybe.
I could, because it's interesting that the question is never really answered. You know, I mean, if she had then turned around and pointed to the wall, and then we find out later on it's actually she's pointing to the demon, then yeah, I mean, that could validate my point. But again, it's very open ended. It's not actually answered, and so.
And going back to the first scene, I do think you're right. I think she's been able to see the Blackcoat from the very beginning of the movie because that's who she looks at and chuckles when she's talking to the priest in the first scene.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're getting it from different perspectives. I mean, this is a film with, this is a film with different perspectives. You know, because you do see it from Rose's perspective, you see it from Kat's, you then see it from Jones. I think the Joan perspective 9 years later is an important one, but the first and third act, or the first and third acts are especially important in terms of how they in terms of how they speak to each other, and the way that, again, I'm going to use that word again, in, you know, how the film can be interpreted on both ends, upon sort of revisiting certain points of the film earlier on, and how you can just by adding or by just twisting something just ever so slightly, you get a completely different take on it. It's very clever writing. It's very clever writing. Very great storytelling.
Let's talk a little bit more about Rose. Now, Rose, as you guys know, the theme of Rose's character is she's worried about being pregnant. That bothers her, of course. Obviously it would. And then, late in the movie, right before she's murdered, she's in the bathroom having a pee, and she finds out she had her period. And she has an immense, joyful look on her face of relief, satisfaction, and she was praying, of course, that she wasn't pregnant, and God answers her prayers. She has a blissful, almost confused look of the rush of pathos and dopamine at realizing, oh my God, my life isn't ruined. Oh my God, I'm not pregnant. Thank God. And then, immediately after that, she walks out into the hall and gets stabbed to death by Catherine, who then turns to the camera with an equal look of release, pathos, and utter bliss on her face, as covered in blood, holding a blood-soaked knife that she stabbed Rose to death with like 24 times. She has this blissful, joyful look on her face. Why? Because she too had her prayers answered by her God. She too was shown that God was real. And I was proud of myself for that. I just wanted to share that.
Oh, that's a really good parallel. I mean,
thank you.
At this point, we've already seen she's done 2 killings, but
we weren't shown her mood or her face after the killings.
No, she's quite. What we do get a shot of her face from underneath as she's looking down on the first lady that she's stabbing.
That's true.
But she's quite unexpressive. The look of relief comes here in this scene. And she looks sort of inspired when she is pulling the head up. But I had a take on the killing that I thought that struck me as so absolutely chilling this time.
I have a lot to say on it, but please tell me what you got.
Well, it was this shot. Let me just get that up. Neil Mohan is not going to like this. Sorry, YouTube. We don't see the initial wave of stabbings that she does on the women here, the nurses.
But we see one later.
Yeah, we get them when they're already down and injured. And we have this woman watching the other. And we watch Kat come on, stab her struggling friend.
Over
then just
and over.
Stabbing, even when she stops moving.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman just has to watch it.
As
and what I took from this is she knows now she can't play dead.
Right.
She's just watched Cat keep stabbing long after.
You actually, sorry, you just touched upon something. I'm sorry to interject, but when Catherine was stabbing Rose, and she sort of left her a few times, my wife, funnily enough, turned around and said, I'd play dead at this point. And I was like, that's not going to work. Did you see what she did to that other woman?
Yeah,
that ain't gonna work
exactly.
now.
Yeah.
It's also kind of hard to play dead when your throat's slit and you're bleeding out. Like you kind of are dead at that point.
Yeah, I found that so chilling, and just the kind of emotionless, but the ferocity.
Mm-hmm.
And we get that sort of build up, so that when she then a few scenes later comes to Rose and stabs her, it really did feel ferocious. I think that was maybe the first bit that felt like a proper traditional scare.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how did you react to that stabbing of Rose that just keeps going?
Well, ask TCG. It's fresh for him.
All right, yeah. For TCG, that fresh take on the stabbing of Rose.
It was very, very sudden. You know, it was definitely not like your conventional sort of slasher sort of style of killing. You know, you kind of thinking that there was going to be some sort of. I mean,
there was no chase.
There was no chase. There was no, like real build up in the sense that you would normally get. No sort of demonic phone call or, there was. Because by then you already know that her fate's sealed anyway. So,
and she gets murdered by the payphone. By the way, that's important.
Yeah. I mean, it's very, very sudden, very brutal. It's very different to how I pictured it would happen when it was like, right, okay, this has got to be the point. I found it very, very disturbing.
It's very visceral.
Indeed.
Because,
in fact, I commented quite often, like the repeated stabbings, not just in that one, but also in this particular scene that we're looking at on screen. It is,
and they don't cut away either. They let you see it, like it's an unbroken shot of her violently stabbing over and over and over again while these women are struggling and crying and dying, and she just lays into them. It's very visceral and real looking. It's a very good scene.
It reminded me a little bit in terms of the visceralness and the brutality of Scream 5, because in that film you really see Ghostface going all out. The stabbings are very, they're not cut away, they're not sugar coated in any way. It's very, very brutal, and that what you're seeing here took me right back to that. And I remember feeling like, even though for me Scream 5 wasn't the best of the franchise, but the way that the killings were executed was some of some of the most brutal ones I'd come across in that particular series, and this really made me think of that. And it was very disturbing. And the helplessness this woman's got here, watching and knowing there's nothing that she can do. But I also equally found it a little bit confusing as well, because it wasn't. I didn't really realise that it was the older lady who is obviously getting pincushioned repeatedly until a bit later. And I kind of thought it might have been her parents. I thought something was going, and then obviously as it progresses, it becomes a lot clearer. Because her face, the woman with the slit throat, it's looking very,
I have more on this if you want me to.
But please do. I mean, in short, it was absolutely brutal. I bloody loved it, and it was a unique way of doing it. It didn't follow the trends, if you will. It did something different, and I really appreciate it.
And
can I make a
go ahead,
quick
please.
note, if that's okay? Just to pick up on the Scream 5 point, both of them, they're great examples of sticking by Wes Craven's rule. And Wes Craven's rule is when you do violence in a film, when you kill someone, you have to show that is happening to a person who has family, who has connections, who has people who care about them. They aren't to be disposable. And in this, I think we get that really strongly. We've had it so embedded who these people are and who will care that this has happened to them. So great example of Wes Craven's rule. Sorry. Over to you, Yizz.
Well, I mentioned before about the phone. Again, I laud this movie. I laud Oz Perkins for showing and not telling. We know that whether it's a make-believe thing in her own mind, whether it's her own subconscious or her dark ego, or whether it is literally a demon or the devil, she is getting orders to kill these people. We are shown that this is true by Rose, the final kill at the school, being by the phone where she's been getting orders. Now, there's more. She kills Rose and is elated, as I mentioned. But as we can see from the killings, it's not the stabbing that makes her happy. It's not the blood. It's not the smell of viscera that brings her elation. These killings are for a higher purpose. She needs to be alone here. She needs them to sacrifice to make her new friend, her new father, happy. She is the daughter of the Blackcoat. She is doing her father's will. Her father's will is to bring him the heads of the people at the school. So she is elated, not from the stabbing and the murder and the smell of viscera or the physical action of the murder. No. When she finally gets the job done, she's happy. She's elated. I have done what my father wished. I have fulfilled my father's desire. And I am celebrating that fulfillment, not the pain and the death I just caused. So I think that's important because we are not shown her being elated or happy any other time in the film. The only time that we see any joy from Catherine, or from Joan for that matter, is when she feels like she has completed her father's task and will be rewarded. This is the only time this character is joyful or happy in any way. And I think that's very important to take note of here.
Just one thing is, and again, this could be my interpretation. Again, that word we. But did you find that when she was killing them, like she was pretty cool with that, and we'll hack them to death and make sure the job's done properly. But when it actually came to the removing of their heads, there was not. It was almost like a sense of hesitation, like almost like I don't really want to do this bit. This is the bit that I'm not going to enjoy most.
The hesitation part was, how am I going to get the heads down there? Then you have the scene with her grabbing the pillowcases.
Okay.
And she'd stashed the heads down in the stairway before she came for Rose.
Yeah, she does that with the suitcases later on as well. Afterwards, doesn't she? With the with Bill and Linda. Yeah, no, I was intrigued to see what your take was that, because I felt like it wasn't not that it was an issue for her, but it's it's like that when you're doing a certain job and you get to that point where you're like, oh man, I know I've got to do it, but I don't really like this bit. Like for me, it's the script writing. I love making the videos, but it's like the most arduous bit for me is getting a script together, man. The research. It's the one that does me in. But then I get to the editing bit and putting it all together. I'm like, yes, this is it. It just felt like that for me was a process for her, and that was the one bit where she was like, I've got to do it, but this is my least favourite part.
Yeah. And now I am finally done and ready to move on to the final part of Act 3, which is Joan killing the parents. So I'm glad to humor any questions or ideas you have about the movie up until the very end, but I have nothing else prepared until the end now.
Not really for me. I mean, I do love the conflict in that, where you've got Bill's perception that coming across Joan was a sign of God, and then you've got Joan or Catherine coming across them as a sign from Satan, and there's that crossover in whose divine intervention concocted that scenario. It's quite interesting, and
good.
Yeah, I did find that quite interesting.
Okay. I have a lot to say about this scene. Would you like to talk about what you have to say first?
Yeah, TCG, would you like to? You got anything, or I can go?
I don't really have much myself to say, other than I think it becomes apparent later on that this was all in vain. And again, you sort of go back to the exorcism that took place. you know, there were no takesy, you know, no takesy backsies on this one. It was a very final thing, and you know, it does become apparent at the end of the film that, you know, she is alone, and there's nothing she could do is ever going to bring back the Blackcoat, because he's been shooed away forever. But
Yeah.
I would love to hear your interpretations and your perspective on it.
Well,
Okay.
we get great writing here. She's lied to them about where she's going. She picks just the next time along. Yeah, I'm going to Portsmouth. Yeah, sure. But really, she's interested in going where they're going, Bramford. I should also note that the Bramford is named after the studio building in Rosemary's Baby, which is a really cute touch. Thank you, IMDb trivia. I did not catch that myself. That was very
I also
nicely
learned
done.
IMDb trivia.
We love our movie autists, folks. I've contributed some observations there myself, but that one is not something I caught. We get great writing where in this car we've got so much information at this point, and we're sort of out of the realm of what we know happened. We're in the present. We don't know which way it will go, but we're looking at everything in a new light following the cat segment. The tension picks up in the car, perfectly written, because the Bill and Linda conflict is already there. They're getting tense because they're approaching Bramford, which is a site of great sorrow and tragedy for them, which is why they start arguing. That builds up tension in the car. That is justification for Joan to say she starts feeling nauseous. And so she wants to pull over next to Bramford when they want to just drive past it. So perfect. Everyone's got two levels of motivation here. When you don't know that Joan is planning to kill them, you just think that it's the nausea getting to her. But they pull over, they do as she says, they stop the car. And at that point, she reaches and gets a knife that we know she stashed. She does a kind of awkward throat cutting on James Remar, on Bill. I think that is where the budget let them down a tiny bit. It's a minor gripe, but the throat cutting is a tad weak.
I wish it would have been more visceral, because I feel like at this point in the film, you know this character is a violent, psychotic, evil-driven murderer. You know that. And I think that it would have really made the film stronger and this scene stronger if they would have used a prop knife and a blood pump to have her reach forward and stab the whole knife into Bill's neck, and then have a giant blood gout spray all over the wife's face or something like that. That would have been much more appropriate for the gravitas of this scene. I agree.
Yeah, it's such a ferocious murder after that, and it sort of completes a picture of what we know about her. We're not as surprised, and we kind of go into it with a sense of doom, that these lovely, good Christian people are doomed. They saw the chance to do what they thought was right with their God, and unfortunately, Kat is doing the same thing. But
and this brings up a dichotomy. That brings up a perfect dichotomy here. How we talked about the reason I framed all of this as the Lord works in mysterious ways is about the interpretation. An atheistic, faithless view is Perkin showing us that it doesn't matter what you believe. You can be good. You can be a good Christian, and it doesn't matter because the world is a cold, evil place, and you're going to get murdered by a psycho. Or we look at it from a religious, sort of philosophical view of, these people are doing what is right, and they're going to their graves doing what they believe is right, being good people. They still get murdered anyway. Was this God's will, or is this the will of darkness? Because a forever quandary in the world of Christian philosophy is, if God is omnipotent and allows evil to happen, is he good? Why does he allow bad to happen to us? Why is that good for us, and why does that make us better Christians? Why does that make us have a better afterlife with him when it's over? That's a constant philosophical thing within Christian discussions. And then you see another element added in here that, yes, the devil is very real. And if the devil is very real, that means that God is very real. So you have the forever Christian question in this scene. Whose will is being met out here? God's or Satan's? And if it's both, then why are they not the same entity? So we have a good theosophical discussion here for the faithful, and you have the answer of the cold, dark, ugly world of a godless man with a faithless interpretation of this scene.
So true, so true. I mean, this is just leading up to ultimately Kat is, or Joan, Kat, I think we should call her just for clarity, as we now know that's who she is. She finds herself at the end of this, having done what she thinks she should do. She finds herself empty and alone and hollowed out. And when you have the Christian reading of it, that hits extremely hard. But there are two points I wanted to make on this that I think is that really hit hard. One is, we talked about why she's putting on the makeup at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And
she wants to dress for a Sunday best, doesn't she? For a you know, yeah.
For the Blackcoat, maybe. I mean, I don't think she's concerned at all about hiding the murder. I read it as she's wanting to get made up like Rose. She is taking what Bill said, literally like, yeah, I see Rose in you. And she thinks, well, Rose was always made up and very beautiful. So I'm going to make myself up too. It's trying to do this dark, sadistic reflection of Bill's statement about seeing Rose in her. And that hit. And then the second thing, when she gets in, she doesn't take the heads in a bag. She takes the heads in a suitcase, and it looks like this. And this just says to me, her going down here, she looks homeless.
Yeah, she's homeless.
Because she is. She's spiritually homeless as well as literally. Like, she's dragging these little... basically, she looks like a vagrant. She is a spiritual vagrant because her god, her Blackcoat, has abandoned her. And I thought that... making her do it with carry the heads in a suitcase is just genius visual storytelling. Oz Perkins, absolute legend.
And do you know what I really like about this as well? Just to sort of touch upon Yizz's point, because this was something I did think about afterwards, but nowhere near as in depth as yourself, Yizz. But no matter how you look at how this film ends, there is no scenario in which Kat comes out on top, because we know that she never gets reunited with the Blackcoat. But when you go back to what she did to Bill and Linda, you sort of touched upon the theological discussion and that conflict going on between, you know, who's driving the essentially the destiny here. I mean, you could look at it in a couple of ways, and again, the interpretation. You could look at it as actually James and Linda kind of win out on this, you know, despite meeting a brutal end, they're reunited with their daughter. It's almost poetic, you know, their faith has reunited them with their daughter after 9 years, and, you know, sure, not exactly the way you want to go out, but they're back with her. You could look at it as nobody wins, because, you know, if you're removing the supernatural element from it, then, you know, you've just got two nice people essentially who try to do something good, just get absolutely ruined for it. And the reality is that there was never a demon in the first place. It was all in her head, and perhaps those 9 years in the mental hospital actually did something to remove that, or just ultimately that Kat lost out, and there was and the demon was never going to come back. So yeah, I hope that makes sense.
I am not done with something that I had prepared for the previous thing. Can you do me a favor and go through a few pictures for me that you've already showed, Chloe? Can you start with the calendar at the very beginning?
Oh yeah, sure. I'll go and find that. I'd got Enriab's suggestion up there when we were talking about other ways of murder in the car could happen. And I thought Enriab's suggestion there is great.
I don't think it's great because it would not fit the viscerality of the movie. I think that the murders need to be shown, and they need to be personal. Having the blood spray on the window and hear the sounds, that would be good for like another kind of movie where you aren't personally connected to the murder victims.
It would be great.
We need to see it happen. We need the visceral, personal connection to their deaths in this movie. So I don't think that the spray on the windshield and then just hearing the stabbings would have fit the tone of this movie.
Do you think it might help get you a little distance? Like, this isn't as satisfying as the other one because she's trying to go back to past glory. Like, maybe. I see the point you're making.
But regardless, I am going to make you proud of me. Are you ready?
Oh, I already am. Let's go for bonus points.
Look at the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Now look at her hair on the right. And remember what you said about this.
Mm.
Remember what you said about why her hair is done and how long it takes. Now, do me a favor and go back to the image that we used when talking about the car murders, please. Showing Joan.
Yep, I've got that here. There we are. Joan with the makeup.
Are you ready?
Go for it.
I'm finally going to meet Daddy. I want to look my best.
Yeah.
I want to look my best for Daddy.
Duality again. You're seeing a duality.
Yep. Now she's an adult woman. She's come into her own. She is a fully sexually mature woman. She doesn't put her hair up in a cute hairdo for Daddy as a child. She puts on makeup to look like an adult woman because she wants to impress Daddy as an adult woman.
I mean, there's massive phrasing issues there, but I get what you're saying.
I can go for that. I can go for that. That sort of, yeah. I had my reading about Rose trying to mirror Rose, but yeah, I like that. It does repeat what she's doing of getting prepared, getting what did Dr. Prepper say? The Sunday best? Yeah. Well, you know what? Both you and TCG thought of that, so I think I will lean to that better interpretation because it is consistent behavior that she's trying. Yeah, I'm sold on it. Yeah, she is trying. She's going all made up back to it, but
I thought that would impress you because I didn't hear that the two of you mentioned that during this scene, and I had that loaded and ready.
No, I like it.
No, I agree with that. I didn't. I'll be honest with you. I didn't initially pick up on that. But the fact that you mentioned that, there, again, what this film does really well is it does have these parallels, and that I can definitely see that as being another good example of that.
One of the things that surprises me so much about this is she's just done horrible things, but my goodness, I feel for her. Like the sorrow she feels. It's so sad when she goes down into the boiler. It's a very literal metaphor, but the fire is gone.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, what she's basically worshipping is a furnace. Obviously, we know why a furnace is being used for satanic imagery, but the idea, I mean, I'm going to be a bit Jordan Peterson here, but the fact that it's a furnace that is meant to fuel her, it's meant to power things. It's literally the internal fire. It's gone. After this, she's got nothing. And Emma Roberts just absolutely wins it. She doesn't get to say much. She has to sell everything, and she looks so wasted by the end. And her just wailing in the final moments is heartbreaking.
Oh yeah, that's my final note, by the way. I don't think I have any more besides the end.
No, well, please go ahead. I mean, I saved that image at the end. Just she looks. She's just lost. She's lost. Yeah. She's homeless. She's got no purpose.
Do you have an image of her crying alone out in the snow-covered road?
I don't think I've managed to get one because of where I have to plug my mic in.
No problem. It's fine. We can use this image just fine. But like I mentioned at the beginning in the breakdown, the movie ends with her immediately after this scene. She walks outside. It's cold. Everything's covered in snow. There's no traffic. There's no sounds of birds. There's no sounds of people. She's all alone at a crossroads. You see a road sign in the distance at a crossroads. Now let me ask you this. What are crossroads for? What do you go to the crossroads for? You go unpopulated crossroads.
You go to crossroads. You go to crossroads to make deals with crossroads demons. You get 10 years in exchange for your soul. Sorry, too much supernatural.
There you go. So
that's exactly the mythology that they want you to get you to. Yeah.
Where's Crowley?
So that's all I have to say in the final scene is we have, just like with the imagery for Charon the boatman, I think that Oz Perkins understands tropes about supernatural stuff, religion, loss, human emotions, and how we interpret the divine and how we interpret the mythological. You can see so many elements of that in this movie. I don't think that it was an accident that the last scene is her at an empty crossroads waiting for a ship that doesn't dock. She's there. She wants it. She's ready to make a deal. She doesn't want to be alone. The only thing that she knows that has made her not alone is making a deal with the devil. And so she's alone at the crossroads, crying and wanting. And do we know if that ship's going to dock or not? Probably not. And that's how the movie ends, with her wailing and gnashing her teeth because she has turned her back on God and accepted the devil.
Boom.
Yeah, nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. It's just a feeling of heartbreak at the end. I mean, TCG, did this hit you emotionally? Did this get you?
Not really.
Nice try. I don't believe you.
No, it really didn't. I mean, I don't know if I'm just wired different or whatever, but at the end of the day, she done some nasty stuff, and for me, this was her just desserts. So
certainly. No,
yeah.
I'm not saying you should feel bad for her. I'm just saying, like, this is what Oz wanted us to feel, I think.
Yeah.
And that's, I wanted to pontificate on it.
I mean, I get why she would feel alone and all that stuff. Like, I completely get that. But as a viewer watching this, I'm just like, you didn't have to chop their heads off, did you? Especially not this time round. Yeah.
Well, how do you know? You don't know what the Blackcoat's asking of you.
Maybe not. But then again, if he's not answering the damn phone, then maybe I should hold off until I get a response, you know? Just like, love, calm down, you know, slow down, take it easy, you know? He was exercised, you know? Might take him a while. See if he can get in touch with one of his mates, you know?
Well, I've exhausted my notes, Chloe. We got through them all. We did it.
Boom.
Oh no, it's good. They were fantastic notes. They're the greatest notes. No, you really knocked out of the park.
You can ask anybody. I have the best notes.
I got this a wifey there with I read it as her realization she had no justification for her violence. Yeah. Even if we do the non-religious reading, that stands.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, certainly.
I mean, either way, you can look at that from both sides. I mean, you know, it was all in vain at the end of the day. You know.
And I really appreciated Oz not putting in a heavy message one way or the other. Like, Oz understands a lot of people are religious and have faith, and a lot of people aren't and don't. And he made a screenplay that speaks to the philosophical reality of both camps in a single movie. He did a very good job.
I just want to finish off with this as well, again, because we're talking about interpretations and the conflict. Maybe the conflict towards the end wasn't actually a conflict. Maybe it was God, you know, causing Bill to both and Joan, for that matter, or Kat, to both reunite at that moment, and by her doing what she did to Bill and Linda was her final sort of rejection of God, and now the loneliness that she is now destined to face is her punishment for that final rejection.
Well, it's a point that it could be the point that turns her around. And then, you know, in that reading, Bill and Linda, they're reunited with Rose. And they've helped Kat realize that she has to turn away. So yeah, it could work.
I'm glad we made you realise, Catherine, that chopping our daughter's head off was not the right thing to do.
Oh, we are getting the justified signals and a fantastic use of the super nanny emoji.
In my defense, we didn't get started until 50 minutes into the stream. So in an hour and a half, I got out 2.5 hours worth of my notes. So I did pretty good.
I think starting the film discussion 50 minutes late is just that much better for all the people who turn up thinking this is a pirated copy of the movie.
I had a blast. This was a great stream. I had a wonderful time. I really did have a great time. Thank you for having me back again to talk about something I'm passionate about. Thank you.
Oh no, absolute pleasure, Yizz. Well, I think we might as well move on to closing thoughts and scores. And yes, Super Nanny's in the chat, boys. You can post them with the custom emoji. The late emoji gets you Super Nannies. Make use of them, folks. All right. And yes, folks, also join us. Give us your scores. If you watched this, if you enjoyed it, give us your scores out of 12 burgers. We always like to see that. And especially, again, if you're on the replay, I would love to see your scores in the comments. But with that said, I will hand over to TCG for the first closing thoughts and score.
Yeah,
I'm very interested in this one.
Just before I do, I very quickly want to revise my kill list score from last week, because that was kind of rushed, from a 6 out of 12 to a solid 8 burgers out of 12. So we're gonna just wanted to uphold that end of the bargain of dipping out early last week.
Appreciate it.
But in terms of this movie, I think it would benefit. I think it's a movie like Kill List that would benefit from multiple watches, because there is definitely multiple interpretations and perspectives that you can get from this film. And that being said, unlike last week where I was like, I don't get it, this week I felt like I very much understood what the directors were trying to do with this film, and I really do like some of the unique methods in which they conducted themselves. For me, mostly it was the execution of the killings. I think there was nothing really. There was never anything sort of like suspenseful about it. It just sort of happened. You're just sort of thrust upon it, and I felt that was a really interesting way of executing that. And I thought it was good. Storytelling wise, I think it was excellently written. I do think that the pacing was, for the most part, pretty solid. Also, when films kind of do the Pulp Fiction thing where they sort of, jump from one timeline to another, it can go one of two ways. It could either be done very well, or it can be done very poorly. This one, fortunately, was very much in the former of that. I thought it was done quite well. It helped spread the story. The only thing that really bugged me, though, if I'm honest, was the fact that Rose's death is kind of spoiled, like a little bit too early for me. I felt like that reveal could have happened a little bit later, but it's not a massive issue. But overall, I would give this a solid 12. A solid 10 out of 12 burgers. Yeah, no, it's not perfect. I mean, bonus points definitely for having James Remar in this film. I think is great, and I'll always remember him mostly for being Harry Morgan from Dexter. So I'll always appreciate him for that. But yeah, solid 10. I mean, there's plenty of catch up to go around. Although it's very sort of short, sharp squirts, but you do it over and over and over again. You do it over and over and over again. I might even slice my burger in half as well, but that will be the only thing that I do off camera.
Nice. I really liked how you definitely connected with this one in a way that Kill List just did not connect with you.
It's my TV. I'm just going to say it now. I watched Kill List last week on my other TV. I'm going to blame it on that.
Oh, nice. Fair enough. I was chuffed to hear it though, and also I love this. Yes. I get a rating of 12.
You're sweet, Marina.
I'm not sure if I can get a rating of 12 because I haven't had Tony Todd in me, but I will let that slide for.
Phrasing.
It's the usual. What? It's the rule. What did I say?
You have to have Tony Todd in you.
Yeah, it's not the rule. You've got to have Tony Todd in you to get a 12. It's for films. Maybe it's different for people. Sorry, that was terrible. Let's move on. Yizz, would you like to rescue this stream with your closing thoughts?
Certainly. Under criticisms in my notes, I have the following: none. This movie isn't for dumb people. Oz Perkins is a master of his craft. I have no criticisms at all. This is the perfect movie for me. I have said before that for my scaling, I don't use burgers. I use ghosts. And I've said before, I reserve 11 out of 11 for something perfect that doesn't exist. But I have only given one 10 out of 11. And that was, I believe, last time for Autopsy of Jane Doe. I think I said 9 out of 10, maybe. I don't remember. Or 9.5 out of 11. This is a 10.5 out of 11 for me. I'm sorry, I talked over you. What did you say? Sorry.
Oh, no, I just remember it was high for Jane Doe. Yeah.
I think I like this one way more. So I gave it a 10.5 out of 11 ghosts.
Yeah.
I am intrigued. You said there were no faults. Where did it lose half a ghost? And was it the top half or the bottom half of the ghost?
No, I'm reserving 11 as an impossible standard, as we are supposed to do with his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Could you not do 10.9?
Well,
Go on.
Call me a traditionalist, but I go by single and half digits when it comes to star ratings for movies.
Okay.
So I do halfsies or wholes.
And my final question, was it the top half of the ghost or the bottom half of the ghost? Or did you slice it down the top from top to bottom? And in which case, which
top to
side?
bottom, baby.
Okay, and which side did you ditch with the left?
Or
left
bottom
right?
to top, because I wanted her to feel it. It's a matter of interpretation.
Oh, you did it the old Running Man way.
Oh, no.
You did it the Running Man way.
I'm sorry, being a little cheeky. It's late in the stream.
It is.
But that's my closing thoughts. I know
PG-13.
I know I've been very gabby tonight, but this is a movie that I'm the most passionate about of anything we've ever covered together. And I'm very thankful that you decided to do it. And I'm thankful for you having me on. I'm glad that you wanted to hear all of my inane and ridiculous musings about what ifs about the movie. I just really love it. It speaks to me. I've watched it like maybe even full 10 times, definitely 8. I'll probably watch it more. I usually watch this movie once a year at least, and I have been since I discovered it back in I think 2016 is when I found it. So it's a great movie. I love it, and I highly recommend you guys have it in your collection like I do myself. So thank you again, Chloe. I had a blast. So I'm good.
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure. So that's a very rare 10.5 for you. Was that a 10 for you, TCG?
Yeah, I said 10.
It's high scores. It's high all round, I think, here. Loads of 9s, 8 and 8. Baldwin, good to see you again, Baldwin, with an 8. Murgoot, 7.5. Not working for you, Murgoot. This is fine. Interesting. I am surprised, but I'm intrigued. I might have to ask about that. For me, first watch, I would have probably given this an 8. My goodness, this is one of the strongest sort of cases of better on the rewatch. I felt there were pacing problems first time round. This time, no. This moves briskly. This is a 93-minute movie. It moves quickly through it. It takes time on the atmosphere, and it doesn't waste time where it doesn't need to. I talked about a hypothetical chase sequence that you'd usually see slipped in. Rose just tries to get away from Cat, and they don't do it. They dodge it. They just step right over that whole thing, which is a sensible choice. The symbolism is deep. You pick up so much on rewatches, and that's why it was so great listening to you. Is like you had picked so many things that I had missed. Just great stuff.
Like the "you smell nice" thing.
Yeah, I mean, even in this conversation, I was like, I hadn't picked up the "you smell nice" thing. Crikey! And I think,
well, I'm glad I was able to contribute.
Yeah, this is getting a rewatch because I know there will be more. There's so much I love in this. It rewards patient viewers, so it comes as a. I mean, it's an easy 10. I feel it's got to go stronger. It's probably. I'm trying to think if I take points off for anything. I've got to take points off for the lack of Todd.
The throat slit from Bill.
Throat slit. There we go. 10.5. Minor effects fail. Minor effects fail, and maybe there were some slight adjustments that are purely my own bias about maybe a little bit more gore. And I would have liked to have known what happened to the headmaster. That was something I was wondering about.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, solid 10.5 as well.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear you say that. I was hoping that you'd really like this one.
Yeah. Just before we dip out, Yizz proper. I just want to very quickly touch, but I think I forgot to mention it. In the film, she turns around and Rose says, you know, is there anything I can get you, blah blah blah, or anything like that. And then Kat turns around and just says, no, you had your chance.
Yeah, it's when she's laying in the bed.
Yeah, that's it. What did you guys make of that bit? Because my initial reaction was just like, what? What do you mean by that? Like, what kind of response is that?
Well, I mean, I've seen it a lot. So to me, I already knew by that point she was hell-bent on murdering them all anyway. The darkness was speaking through her. I knew exactly what that line meant the first time I heard it. And I think it's a beautiful line that doesn't really need explanation. I just think that it's just a perfectly wrought line of dialogue.
Okay, I'm just going to very quickly say I thought it meant you know, you had your chance to get out, because obviously
it could mean that.
Yeah,
but you know it doesn't mean that.
Well, I don't know. That's what I was asking.
Okay, well again, I'm fallible, of course, but what I think it means is to show the viewer that no, like the darkness knows that she's going to be murdered. Catherine knows that too. She knows the intentions of her Blackcoat father. She knows what's going to happen. She knows that she had her chance to leave. She knows she had her chance to either ally or to ally with the Blackcoat or not, or escape or not. All of those meanings are encapsulated in that one perfect line of dialogue.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't top that. That's perfect. It's you could have not lied, and you could have been picked up by your parents, and also you could have allied yourself with the Blackcoat too, when I thought there was a chance of that. So it's a great subtle line. But yeah, fantastic stuff, folks. Fantastic. Really chuffed. And we've got a late review from Prof. Strangefinger. Unconventional. 5 orbs, and three targets. Well, it's unconventional, but to be honest, you put an amazing cat as your avatar, so I'll allow it. All right, folks. Oh, where are we? Okay, so we've got our closing thoughts and scores. This is an absolute banger. I hope we've sold you on this, and if we have sold you on this, Oz Perkins has been a busy little beaver. If you like this, definitely try I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House from 2016. You can find that fairly easily. It's got a very Shirley Jackson vibe to it. So if you like this, you'll like that. If you like this, you'll like Hereditary. He did one of the episodes in Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone, which, you know, slight shudder at that, but hopefully when we come around to it, we'll check that episode out. He's done a film called Gretel and Hansel, and one is coming up with Nicolas Cage called Longlegs. That's filming at the moment, so there is more Oz Perkins stuff to watch, but definitely try I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. If you like, it should be up your street. Right. Horror homework for next week. We are going back into horror anthologies, and we are doing a big focus on the TV series again. We are going deep into Tales from the Crypt. We are going, we are touching on the outer limits. And I think we're finishing with Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, which also features James Remar. I don't know if you know him.
Never heard of him.
Yeah.
You might have heard of him before.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Now, those are going to be lists of episodes. So I will get the list out probably tomorrow. I'm going to be as quick with that as I can and give you the full list of episodes we'll cover. So watch out for that tomorrow. I'll be posting about it on Twitter. I'll be posting about it in a community note here. So you should be able to find it out. That will be the horror homework for September going forward. I'm also going to try and get in that Cat's Eye bonus stream for members. So if you're a member of this channel, then you should look for that and enjoy it. Otherwise, I think that is everything. Thank you so much for keeping the chat lively. Thank you so much, Yizz and TCG, for a great discussion.
Yeah, it was cracking.
I had a wonderful time. I'd be glad to do it again one day about something else I'm passionate about. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who's listening, either live or after the fact. And I had a wonderful time getting to share my passion on this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you were on fire. It was great. It was really good. So plenty to come on the channel fairly soon. I will leave with the regular good night. Thanks, y'all. and cheese.